Kingdom Hearts is such a special franchise to me. It was my very first PlayStation 2 game. I didn't realize it, but I got the game in September 2002, about when it came out. It was my first truly next-gen experience at the time, as I witnessed some of my favorite Disney characters make the leap and then mind-blowing 3D graphics and animation that shocked and stunned not just 7-year-old me, but other game developers as well. Of course, the story goes to the enormous success of this weird collaboration for the leader in family animation and the leader in fantasy RPG gaming. As of today, the Kingdom Hearts series has sold over 35 million copies across the entire series, a staggering number thinking back to its origins now 20 years ago. On the criticism side, much can be made about the storytelling of the series. It's confusing, convoluted, complicated, all words thrown around constantly. And yes, there is absolutely validity to the criticism. Until just a few years ago, you had to own multiple systems to get the entire story. You couldn't just play the numbered entries to be ready for the years in the making climax, Kingdom Hearts 3. We could go on and on and on, but that's not what I want to focus on today. To me, the absolute beauty of Kingdom Hearts, what hooked me as a child beyond the surface-level Disney spectacle, was the heart, the characters, the emotion, the joy, and feeling behind the story. What makes Kingdom Hearts such an impactful series is the absolute sincere power of emotion that you honestly don't see that often in video games, let alone a gigantic, honestly corporate, product from the biggest developer Japan had to offer with the biggest storyteller Hollywood had. That's what brings me back. Kingdom Hearts has tackled an absolutely epic amount of subjects and ideas in its 20-year history. So today I wanted to take a look at the ones that stand out, the emotions and characters that impacted me through this series as I grew up, and along the way maybe hear from others what Kingdom Hearts' emotional journey has meant to them. So be sure you're subscribed for more content like this, give the video a like, and maybe a comment after you're done watching. It helps the channel out enormously. Let's dive in. Where else to begin but with our primary protagonist? Sora as a character represents a lot of things. The quintessential hero's journey from small beginnings to great things. The power of love, kindness, and loyalty. It all comes from a place of joy. Joy towards adventure, joy for his friends and their accomplishments, joy in being able to save others and find his close ones again. Sora really perfectly encapsulates the more Disney side of Kingdom Hearts. The core characters of the series go through a lot of hardship throughout, including Sora. From losing his memories in Castle Oblivion, seemingly losing his close friend Riku on multiple occasions, he always maintains a great sense of positivity through it all. That isn't to say he's just relentlessly positive, he's still a nuanced character who experiences ups and downs, but his core sense of being always returns to joy. Specifically, in the original game, Sora mirrors the player as they experience an entirely new action RPG world filled with dozens of Disney characters across diverse worlds. It's unexpected, exciting, and dangerous. It benefits all the more from being seen through the perspective of a 14-year-old kid. Sora's still growing up and coming into his own, so these new discoveries, new companions, and the new responsibility as the wielder of the Keyblade brings a refreshing sense of enthusiasm to all these new experiences. He, like Riku and Kairi, craved adventure when on the Destiny Islands, and now he's getting it, just with a lot higher stakes than he ever imagined. Even through all of that, though, he approaches things in such a positive way that you can't help but feel his joy yourself. The foundation set for his character in the first game, Kingdom Hearts, is imperative. It really sets the tone for his journey throughout the entire series. Sora begins as very much a naive child. He has his friends, his home, yet he craves more, though he's not sure what that is beyond seeing the world. With the fall of Destiny Islands, Sora gets way more adventure than he bargained for, but still maintains his demeanor of optimism and excitement. He makes fast friends from Leon and Yuffie to his eventual party members, Donald and Goofy. Truly, that's one of the hallmarks of Sora. He makes friends everywhere he goes. When someone is antagonistic against him, but not necessarily a villain, take King Triton for example, he's shocked by this and actually kind of angry. With Triton wanting to stifle Ariel's freedom, Sora sees himself in the princess and immediately wants to help her. Obviously there's nuance, watch the source material, but Sora wants the best for everyone he meets. The most important part of this aspect to him as a person is none other than Riku. Sora and Riku's relationship is the anchor for Kingdom Hearts' storytelling and characterization, arguably more so than Kairi. And Kairi's great, don't get me wrong. Viewing Riku's descent into darkness's embrace through Sora is truly heartbreaking. Sora's angry and confused as to why his friend would suddenly turn against him like this. Though, instead of shunning him and turning his back, he actively wants to understand why Riku is doing things like working with Maleficent and using the darkness to revive Kairi. Sora's hope for his friend's return, his need for the trio of them to be together again, leads him to constantly trying to reach out to Riku to hopefully bring him, quite literally, back to the light. And Sora's a consistent character as his journey continues in future games. As he grows up a bit through Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2, he maintains his optimism while gaining a bit of an edge. He's tired of dealing with the manipulations of villains like Organization 13 and is confident in his own strength to know that he has what it takes to stop them with his own power and the power of his friends. The Sora-Riku relationship also operates as a huge emotional throughline for Kingdom Hearts 2. Sora has no idea what has happened to Riku throughout the whole game, having last seen him as the doors to Kingdom Hearts itself closed. The reunion between the two, while Riku is still immersed in darkness making himself look like Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, is one of the most cathartic, powerful moments of the series.
Riku! It's Riku. Riku's here. I looked for you.
Come on, Sora. You've got to pull it together.
I looked everywhere for you.
It's Sora's intense bonds with his friends that make him such an impactful character. Having a video game protagonist who is so full of hope and an adventurous spirit is infectious, and when he has those low moments of self-doubt and despair, they hit harder than you expect. The climax of the series so far, Kingdom Hearts 3, features Sora at his absolute lowest point as he witnesses all of his friends disappear right before his eyes, leaving just Riku in front of him, protecting him from a violent and ferocious heartless attack. Because we have the frame of reference of Sora's disposition, the stakes are incredibly high. Higher than they've ever been before, as Sora actually screams out in agony at what looks like a hopeless situation. This is what makes Kingdom Hearts hit so hard as a series. Even when the story can be a bit convoluted, the characters and their feelings are there plainly, honestly, and easily understandable. Having such clear characterization makes the emotional highs and lows hit, making for an intensely memorable experience for the player. But it's not just about Sora. Kairi gets a bad rap. Her role in the original Kingdom Hearts is largely that of damsel in distress, with her vanishing from the Destiny Islands after darkness consumes the world, leading Sora and Riku to find a way to save her. However, looking beyond the central premise, there's a lot more to Kairi as compared to, say, Princess Peach in the Mario games. Kairi has strength of her own, not just from plot devices like being a Princess of Heart. She's very much a character who really doesn't accept any kind of nonsense from anyone due to growing up around Sora and Riku's shenanigans as young kids. Because of Kingdom Hearts 1's plot, Kairi is mostly off-screen and/or catatonic, so we don't get to know her particularly well beyond fleeting character beats. From what we see though, we witness her resolve and want to protect Sora, passing him a lucky charm to keep him safe after being rescued from Hollow Bastion.
Take this. It's my lucky charm. Be sure to bring it back to me.
Don't worry, I will.
Really, Kairi comes into her own in Kingdom Hearts 2. After being stuck on Destiny Islands, a chance encounter with Axel of Organization 13 throws Kairi more actively into the plot. While she may not be a Keyblade wielder like her friends, Kairi can hold her own without even having to physically fight, having the strength not only to remember Sora by any means necessary, even establishing a brief connection with Roxas. In fact, when Axel comes to kidnap her, she isn't sent unwillingly kicking and screaming. She straight up runs right through the darkness portal, knowing that this could be the way to finally reunite with Sora and Riku. Compared to Kingdom Hearts 1, she's taking complete control of her own destiny and doesn't back down, finally showcasing her true resolve that was merely hinted at before. Nothing is more emblematic of her as a character than this moment.
This time, I'll fight. You know Sora's completely hopeless without us.
Kairi finally gets to wield a Keyblade herself and has even more means of protecting those she loves. It's a clever way to subvert expectations. Kairi originally is positioned as a damsel in distress, but that was never actually true. Hell, in the original Kingdom Hearts, when Sora loses his heart temporarily and becomes a Heartless, she's the one who rushes without any second thought to protect him, even though she could be hurt in the process. Now, unfortunately, as the Kingdom Hearts series was filled out with more quote-unquote side games, Kairi and her journey fell a bit to the wayside. However, with the end of Kingdom Hearts' Dream Drop Distance, it became time for her to start training to become a true Keyblade master. Now, narratively, Kairi's role in Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bit of a choice at times, but the roots of her character and her power stay consistent, always fighting to protect what she loves no matter the cost. It climaxes with the DLC Remind, where Kairi finally becomes a playable character and takes control of the final fight with Xehanort, finally able to take him on for all the struggles this villain has caused her. It's a big moment and simply so fun. Kairi's always been a powerful character, and that carries right over to her gameplay because she, to put it simply, kind of kicks ass. Kairi hasn't gotten the due she deserves in the Kingdom Hearts series, but what's there is still good. She's a strong, protective, smart character who doesn't even have to necessarily be a physical fighter to be one of the most powerful characters in the franchise. Giving her a Keyblade just makes her even better than before. Hopefully she'll truly get to really shine in future entries in the series. Kairi is a wonderful showcase of inner strength and power that we could really use more of in gaming. Looking back as an adult at how Riku is in the original game, he's a little right? Like, dude, insecurity. But as a fellow insecure, that plus teenage angst really is a recipe for something pretty relatable. Riku is arguably one of the most complex characters in Kingdom Hearts based on his own emotional journey. Growing up, he was the leader of the pack. Sora and both Kairi looked up to him, not just because he was a little older, but he was stronger and very easily commanded a room, or beach, for attention. He craved the same adventure as his friends, but his insecure tendencies led him to embrace darkness, egged on by the manipulations of people like Maleficent. Through his tough exterior, however, Riku is revealed as someone with intense, practically crippling self-doubt, especially after being confronted with Sora able to hold his own with the Keyblade. Riku loses the one constant in his adolescent life, being a protector, just like that. That's what makes him throw himself into saving Kairi by any means necessary, even if he loses his complete sense of self. His journey is heightened, of course, but it's not far off from many people who experience that kind of insecurity in their lives all the time, no matter what show they put on the exterior. It's a tough journey, and Riku's self-doubt doesn't end with the first game. While he does regain control of himself after becoming a pawn for Ansem, he's locked behind the doors of Kingdom Hearts and soon finds himself continuing to steep himself in darkness. Though this time not to save his friends, but to hide from them. Riku's insecurity with wanting to be someone strong to look up to is replaced with guilt and self-loathing of a slightly different kind. It takes Kairi and finally Sora to bring him back, to show that they love and accept him for who he is, all of him, even the parts that he's so ashamed of.
Why didn't you let me know you were okay?
I told you. I didn't want to be found. Not like this. I couldn't.
It's only then that he returns to his own original self, literally hiding his true appearance in the person that nearly destroyed him up until that point. Like the catharsis of Sora and Riku reuniting, it's here where Riku's own journey finally takes a full turn back to the light. He's still the same Riku, generally personality-wise.
Riku is a sexy guy. He's just a sexy guy.
But he's finally on the road to redemption. That insecurity is still there, but now he's taking those emotions and channeling it toward bettering himself mentally as a friend and physically as a Keyblade wielder. With Kingdom Hearts' Dream Drop Distance, Riku reaches the climax of this arc as Sora is trapped in the machinations of the new Organization 13. Riku is able to muster the strength and reaches out and saves his friend from becoming another piece of the revived Xehanort. Riku returns to his role as protector, but in a new light. Originally back on Destiny Islands, he was like the big brother of sorts to Sora, but it served a selfish desire to be the best, to always come out on top. Now, after saving Sora, Riku still has the ultimate goal of protecting his friends, but it comes from a pure, unselfish root to do right by others with no interest in any kind of personal gain or stroke of ego. And for that, he's rewarded with becoming a full-fledged Keyblade master. Riku's internal journey is a wonderful one that blends seamlessly with his external one. Over these last 20 years, he's gone through arguably the most strife of any character from the original game, and thankfully has turned out the better for it. It would have been so easy for him to be written as your stereotypical rival character that shows up in all kinds of media from Disney to shonen anime, but the team behind Kingdom Hearts stayed far away from those tropes and crafted a secondary protagonist who went on a difficult path only to come out emotionally stronger than before that is fully worth celebrating. Now, where can he get his own game? Who knew what the fandom called the BHK? That's blonde-haired kid, before his official reveal would have such a lasting impact. Roxas is fascinating to look at because he's the star of the arguably most controversial part of Kingdom Hearts, the intro to Kingdom Hearts 2. At the time of its release, critics and players bemoaned the extended intro that took 3 hours or more to get back to playing as Sora. However, here's a hot take. KH2 Prologue good? It's not perfect by any means. I'd say cut the word photo missing bit and the pacing of the intro works a hell of a lot better, but it all serves to really establish Roxas as a major player in the story of Kingdom Hearts. Yes, you could call the idea of a replicated fake town created from data to sort of trap Roxas in order to aid in Sora's awakening a bit over the top. That's valid, but Roxas himself is so wonderfully realized that for me it really makes everything work, for the most part. The nature of nobodies in Kingdom Hearts is tricky, but at this point it's conclusive that yes, they do have feelings, wants, hopes, dreams, souls, and Roxas is a prime example. Awakening after Sora gave his heart to save Kairi in the first game, Roxas is basically just a shell of a person, not even speaking, not really fully formed. However, as he experiences so much throughout his origin story in 358 Days Over 2, he learns what it means to be human. His time as part of the organization with his friendships with Axel and Xion comes to define him in many ways. One is his curious nature, something he very much inherits from Sora. He wants to know more about the worlds around him and understand them better. This is shattered after Xion's death, where, through a series of events, Roxas is reborn into this new, fake Twilight Town. Throughout the opening hours of Kingdom Hearts 2, Roxas is put through the ringer, learning that his whole life, his whole existence is a lie, and that he allegedly is meant to serve one purpose, to lose himself and return to Sora. The trick is, though, that while he does return to him eventually, he doesn't really disappear. Roxas's experiences with the organization, while forgotten, along with his brief time in Twilight Town, gives him a new lust for life, a hope to continue on even though he's been through so much. Roxas's desire to exist and not be defined as a nobody, that moniker works on multiple levels, is what in turn gives Sora the strength to face his own challenges throughout 2's story. Ugh, that ending. Honestly, Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of the best endings in video games. Kingdom Hearts has its external physical fights as various characters clash with spectacle to spare, but what really makes this all work is just the amount of care and empathy it takes in crafting its heroes. And villains, we'll get to them. Kingdom Hearts 2 begins with such melancholy, such despair, as Roxas learns the nature of his existence. And the absolutely amazing release for him to still live on and find meaningful connection in the end honestly makes me tear up every time I roll credits in the game. Roxas would then sit on the sidelines a bit only to make the grandest of returns in Kingdom Hearts 3. The moment where he is finally granted his own body and is reunited with Axel, and the once lost Xion is honestly up there as one of the most poignant moments in the series. These nobodies appearing into existence tied to loss of others, told that they aren't truly whole, only to arrive fully formed by their own volition and strength and hope of heart, is wonderful to witness. Everything used to be a lie for Roxas, but now he sits in Twilight Town his own person, with friends old and sort of new with him. His will of hope prevailed. One of the darkest emotional journeys in Kingdom Hearts overall truly belongs to Aqua. One of the most experienced characters players take control of in the series, Aqua earns the title of Keyblade Master at the top of the series prequel, Birth by Sleep. Basically the leader of the trio made up of her, Terra, and Ventus, Aqua spends Birth by Sleep's story working hard to try to aid her friends in whatever way she can, as Master Xehanort's plans are set in motion, leading to absolute ruin for them all. Looked at overall, the story of Birth by Sleep is a bleak one, like a slow-motion car crash of events that leads to really none of our main characters getting a happy ending, at least in this game. It comes to a head when Aqua has a final clash with Terra, now taken over by Xehanort. After their fight, a portal to the Land of Darkness is opened, and Aqua uses the last of her strength in an attempt to save Terra. Unfortunately, however, she sinks into the abyss. Let's get it out of the way. The Land of Darkness is basically Disney hell. It's hell, a land devoid of light and happiness of any kind. Aqua finds herself wandering aimlessly amongst the ruin of worlds that she had been to, like the Snow White Mines and Cinderella's Kingdom. It's desolation and despair wherever she walks, and it's absolutely never ending. We get a mere glimpse of what it's been like for her in Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, as Aqua attempts to continue on, haunted by visions of her friend's ongoing predicaments, along with her own voice stalking her, telling her she should just give up. It's heavy stuff, even for Kingdom Hearts, and Aqua does her best to fight against the all-consuming darkness, quite literally battling her inner demons to continue on in the hope that she'll somehow, someway, make it back to the light. King Mickey showing up is an actual relief, as for so many years Aqua can finally speak to someone who's real. Unfortunately though, she once again has to make the sacrifice to ensure darkness from winning over light, taking on a horde of Heartless to help keep it at bay as Sora and Riku close the doors to Kingdom Hearts. And Mickey loses his shirt. And thus Aqua continues on, finding herself at the same beach Riku and Sora would find themselves at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. And so she waits. To add tragedy to the despair, it's not enough, is it? When Riku and Mickey finally discover Aqua, it's seemingly too late. She succumbed to the darkness, and that voice inside of her telling her to give up has taken over, becoming what the game defines as anti-Aqua. In a dramatic fight backed by the saddest music ever, Riku and then Sora fights anti-Aqua as a last-ditch effort to bring her back as her voice echoes around the battlefield. Thankfully, with the will of the two young Keyblade wielders, Aqua finally opens her eyes, witnessing blinding sunlight for the first time in years. Returning to Kingdom Hearts' amazing use of catharsis, the utter despair Aqua has experienced so long, along with her struggle to fight, finally ends. And that pain is released, tears filling her eyes. A hand reaches out and she takes it. She's finally home. This, for me at least, is the ultimate moment of catharsis for Kingdom Hearts as a series. Ever since Birth by Sleep, we've seen Aqua struggle so hard to return to the light, potentially doomed to be trapped in the land of darkness forever. To have her finally saved is an absolutely beautiful moment. One of many during Kingdom Hearts 3's extended climax, might I add. And it really shows how deft the writing and storytelling the series can actually be to make these moments feel powerful, meaningful, and worth the wait. Kingdom Hearts, amongst all of the wild plot machinations, has an absolutely beautiful heart when it comes to its characters, each going on various journeys to become better, to grow in interesting ways that get a lot more focus and attention due to the sprawling, long-form nature of the series' storytelling. There's individual conflicts that are resolved in some ways in each game, sure, but the emotional journeys of its heroes continue on from game to game, and it's what keeps me and so many others coming back. But now, let's not forget the villains. The original villains of Kingdom Hearts are too afforded the same emotional depth the majority of the time too, and can resonate just as equally with players as the protagonists. One such player, FilmOtter in particular.
Some of the most compelling characters in Kingdom Hearts, and media in general, are the villains. And because I am an expert at taking lighthearted games made for teens way too seriously, let's talk about depression. I mean, Xemnas. Where do I even start with him? As far as video game villains go, Xemnas gets my vote for being one of the most interesting. On the surface, his mustache-twirling plot to rebuild Kingdom Hearts is as by the numbers as it gets, right? But if you look a little deeper, Xemnas really represents a lot more than just a power-hungry maniac who's willing to gaslight the people around him into doing his bidding. To me, Xemnas represents how much the weight of depression can change a person's heart over time, especially when that depression is left to fester without professional help. When I describe some of my personal experiences with depression to people, I often tell them that it isn't just a deep sadness or a feeling of pain. It's no feeling at all.
You feel nothing. Nothing is real.
Took the words right out of my mouth, bud. What better allegory for dealing with depression than a shell of a human trying his best to become whole again and regain the ability to experience regular human emotion? That's a pretty compelling motivation to do some screwed up stuff, if you ask me. Now, as the games went on and the stories got a bit more intricate, Xemnas' journey faded into the background a bit, But his final moments in Kingdom Hearts 3 are the ones that really hit home for me. His entire existence has centered around finding a way to feel real, genuine emotions no matter the cost. From his slightly confusing creation, all the way until his final moments in the Keyblade Graveyard, he's had one goal: to overcome his numbing depression. And once Sora defeats him, he finally comes to the understanding that his manipulation, lying, and gaslighting are the things that drove his friends away from him, not his lack of emotion or his unstable mental health. And those unconscious forms of self-isolation in times of deep depressive episodes are very real, and I'm sure anyone watching who's dealt with depression in their life can relate to that. Ironically, it's Xemnas' demise that speaks to me the most though. Throughout the series, Sora has been an inescapable source of joy, as Faux mentioned before. So when Sora bests Xemnas in battle, we could interpret this symbolically as a friend's light shining bright enough to help another see their way through some really dark times. Xemnas' final words, realizing the strength of a human heart, are quite a fitting end for his character, and a really good way to wrap up his arc. That's the most emotion we really see from him in the series, so it looks like, in the end, he did achieve his goal. He finally got to feel something real, even if it was at the end of his life, and he didn't even need Kingdom Hearts to do it. He just needed a friend to reach out and help him see through the darkness. Or get beaten up by a 16-year-old with a giant key-shaped sword, but symbolism. It's a good time.
All of these different journeys, and in the end, it all comes down to the game's ultimate antagonist, Xehanort. Throughout his main appearances in the series, really starting with Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, he's viewed as nothing but a villain, no good existing in him at all. Controlling Ven to do his bidding, manipulating Terra to take over his body, it's bad stuff, clearly. After Birth by Sleep, Xehanort is always hanging in the air of Kingdom Hearts. What's his next move? What version of himself is going to attack Sora and company next? This rather one-note lust for power prevails, as Xehanort's defining characteristic up to Kingdom Hearts 3. In the climax of the Xehanort saga, we begin the game seeing Xehanort himself, young and talking to his friend Ericus. The shades of darkness are apparent in Xehanort already here, but it appears to be more of a curiosity about it more than anything. He's not yet fully consumed. Xehanort has the desire to remake the world, wipe it clean, and recreate it all in the way that he chooses. What he thinks is better. A more ideal one, as he hopes, but needing utter destruction of what there already is to achieve that. In the end, light prevails and Xehanort finally admits defeat. The spirit of his old friend appears, and Xehanort finally comes to understand that controlling the destinies of worlds and those that inhabit them aren't his decisions to make. In the end, Xehanort had empathy for the plights of the worlds, but unfortunately that was warped by darkness into selfish desires to wanting to be the one to guide everyone to a better universe. Absolute control. It takes Sora and friends, along with Ericus and Terra, to help him understand that his way of thinking isn't the way to go. It truly does come from a good place, empathizing with the strife of the war between light and darkness and wanting that pain to stop. But in turn, wanting to use pain in the form of another Keyblade war to achieve his goals perverted himself into villainy, blind to how wrong he was about everything. Sora's defeat of him gives him hope, however, as he understands that there's a strong enough force for good in the universe to keep complete ruin of the worlds at bay. Xehanort and Ericus' time was done, and the new generation of Keyblade wielders were destined to take their place in maintaining the balance without erasing everything. Xehanort's journey as a young Keyblade wielder is further explored in the mobile title Dark Road, as we learn that Xehanort had more friends than just Ericus, and that great tragedy befell them, leading to darkness creeping ever closer to Xehanort's heart, kickstarting his journey into becoming the ultimate villain of the series. Xehanort's realization at the end of 3 is tricky, as based on general reactions, some players did not want to forgive him for what he had done in the story. That's fair, but it's thanks to Kingdom Hearts' emotional storytelling that there was depth and meaning behind Xehanort's actions, and he didn't remain just a one-note big bad to defeat. There was meaning and emotion behind what he wanted to do, and it's been further colored in by Dark Road post Kingdom Hearts 3. In the end, I don't think Kingdom Hearts is asking players to forgive Xehanort for his actions necessarily. That's not what's important in this case. Instead, it's asking for players to empathize with him in turn and try to understand why he grew into the evil figure that had to be stopped at any cost. returns to the tapestry of character and emotion the series weaves throughout its story. If you're willing to dive in and get to know these characters, even amongst the somewhat convoluted plotting of the franchise, there's a lot to be discovered. From Sora's joy to Xemnas' sadness, above all else, over the last 20 years, Kingdom Hearts has gifted players with rich, deep characters that come from so many different situations, conflicts, just overall feelings. It's hard not to find a handful to empathize with, and that's not even getting into such dynamic characters like Xion, Axel, hell, even Demyx.
Demyx time!
Again, plenty of criticism can be fairly lobbed at Kingdom Hearts as a series narratively, but what keeps me returning and so many others will always be its eclectic cast. The beautiful emotional arcs behind these characters is an achievement for those who invest their time in it, and those cathartic moments hit so hard because of the strong understanding the writers have for the cast. They go through so much across the games released so far, and players who are willing to commit the time to follow each of their journeys are duly rewarded with some of the biggest emotional highs in gaming. These characters have grown up along with the players too over these 2 decades, and with more adventures to come, I can't wait to see what journeys they'll go on next. What do you think about when someone says Kingdom Hearts? There's the grand Disney worlds, the fun characters, the plot that's a lot, and the music. Talk to most Kingdom Hearts fans, and there's an excellent chance the music for the series, primarily composed by Yoko Shimomura across all titles, will come up. Not just remixing existing iconic Disney tracks, the Kingdom Hearts series' music has probably seen the most benefit from the story stretching across multiple titles over many years. Themes are developed, new musical styles are experimented with, and there's just as much musical payoff in Kingdom Hearts 3 as there is story. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Truth be told, I don't think we talk about video game music nearly enough. In recent years, this aspect of games has gained more mainstream recognition, with titles such as Journey even receiving a Grammy nomination for its score, composed by Austin Wintory. Speaking of, recently the Grammys announced that they'll now have a category just for video game scores. However, well before fancy award categories, video game music has been casting a spell on players since the beginning of the medium, be it the simple melodic beeps and boops of the original Pac-Man by Shigechi Ishimura and Toshio Kai, to the epic scale of 2018's God of War by Bear McCreary. Video game music can be a powerful tool for nostalgia, connection, mood, and really just every emotion. However, it's rare for a composer to really have the opportunity to weave a musical experience as grand as Yoko Shimomura has been able to do with the Kingdom Hearts series. Sure, many a game has had its sequels with composers returning for another round. Ratchet & Clank's PS2 run with David Bergeau comes to mind, but truly nothing was produced on such a scale as Kingdom Hearts, in gaming at least. So today I really want to dive in on exactly why Kingdom Hearts' music is so special, what truly makes it memorable beyond surface level observations. Before we truly begin, be sure you're subscribed for more content like this, give the video a like, and maybe a comment after you're done watching. It helps the channel out enormously. And huge thanks as well to my supporters on Patreon. I really couldn't continue making these videos without you. Thank you so much for your support. Now let's get started. When discussing music and its impact on the viewer, or in this case, the player, we have to talk about the function of music in media. Like, what is the music itself doing to service what you're seeing on screen, be it a game, a movie, whatever. A great example of this is Michael Giacchino's Academy Award-winning score for Up, and yes, I'm about to talk about that opening montage. The initial parts of the sequence are set to a more jaunty tune, like out of a music box, featuring Ellie's theme prominently, the same theme that will play when Carl finally lifts his house off the ground with hundreds of balloons. The music lends itself a feeling of married bliss, happiness, and contentment as Ellie and Carl move through life. There isn't a major shift until we reach the part of the montage where the two decide to have a baby, only to learn that Ellie is unable to have one. It's an unexpected, tragic scene, and the music reflects that, carrying the themes we've been hearing but with a slower, sadder tone to connect with the visuals. The part I really want to pinpoint to is what immediately follows. Carl sees Ellie sitting in silence in their front yard as he remembers the adventures they dreamed of taking. They can't have a child, but they can still have adventures around the world. There's a lot of emotions at play in this portion of the montage. Ellie sits in her chair, eyes closed, just feeling the wind on her face. What emotions are being felt by her here? Sadness? Peacefulness? Grief? acceptance, sorrow. There's not a direct answer, and it could just be a mix of all of these things, and the music is left to emphasize what's on screen in some form. Take a listen. That is the function of music, helping convey what's happening on screen even when it's hard to fully articulate. Giacchino's score for Up is a masterclass, and this scene is emblematic of that. Powerful emotions conveyed through gorgeous music that helps support what's on screen in all the right ways. The imagery of the married life montage is powerful and beautifully crafted, sure, but the music pushes it to a whole new level that makes it so iconic to this day. So, Kingdom Hearts. It's a daunting task, not only living up to the musical history of Square's great RPGs, but to the legacy of Disney. Composer Yoko Shimomura had her work cut out for her. She had already had some experience with Disney games, having composed the music for Adventures in the Magic Kingdom for the original Nintendo Entertainment System back in 1990. She would go on to work on various other titles like the JRPG Live Alive in 1994 and Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars in 1996. She would continue to contribute to Squaresoft titles like Parasite Eve and Legend of Mana, leading to her landing the job to compose for Kingdom Hearts. Shimomura did exemplary work on all those titles, but according to an interview with her, she doesn't know exactly why she was selected. I don't really know why, maybe it was because my schedule just happened to be free at the time. From the opening notes of the title track for Kingdom Hearts, the tone is perfectly set. Dearly Beloved plays, and players are instantly transported into a magical experience. A deceptively simple piano melody begins, creating feelings of relaxation and contentment, with a hint of adventure just bubbling up to the surface. It's the perfect scene setter for Kingdom Hearts, evoking a sense of nostalgia and longing as players sat on that opening title screen. Coupled with an image of Sora on the beach of Destiny Islands, it sets the stage for an adventure that's about to begin in a surprisingly quiet way, not aiming for bombast and big emotions, but a quiet riddle that'll be solved when the player selects new game. Jumping into the first game of the series was immediately apparent. Apart from the ominous tones of Dive into the Heart and the relaxed vacation vibes of Destiny Islands, are the character themes. The first major one to show up in the series in fact belongs to Kairi, first appearing as she and Sora contemplate the journey that they think they're about to go on. It's a quiet piece, wistful, sentimental, and light. It showcases Kairi's character as a force for good, a force for light, and a princess of heart. However, unlike other pieces of Disney music that relate to princesses that are more light and fluffy, there's a sense of melancholy to Kairi's theme, hinting that her past isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There's a mystery there waiting to be discovered, even if it won't be fully solved in this initial game. Kairi's theme actually reoccurs throughout Kingdom Hearts in different arrangements too. Sometimes more nostalgic as Sora tries to reach out and find her, to even a rendition that seems like it's coming from a music box, recalling feelings of childhood and the grand stories we were told at that age. It's always immediately recognizable as Kairi's theme, whether literally by noticing the song or just feeling the emotions the music evokes when it plays. And that's just one of the character themes. We'll get to the others in a bit. But Yoko Shimomura truly accomplished something special on the first go with this franchise. Some Disney songs do show up in the score, most notably the Mickey Mouse Club March and the music for Disney Castle's introduction, but the majority of the field and battle tracks that appear in the various Disney worlds are wholly original. Sure, they allude to their source material, such as Halloween Town's battle theme, Spooks of Halloween Town, showing some heavy This Is Halloween influence. It's fantastic stuff. Deep Jungle's music is also wholly original, but feels like a completely new spin on Mark Mancina's score for the 1999 animated film Tarzan. Just listening to the music on its own with no context and asking someone what Disney movie it could have come from, honestly, I feel like everyone would assuredly answer correctly. That's the power of Kingdom Hearts' music. It hits the ground running, crafting beautiful character themes and lovely world music that intertwines the musical history of both Square's RPGs and Disney's classic films. And this was only the beginning of the series' musical journey. The next entry in the Kingdom Hearts series would see an unexpected console jump from the PlayStation 2 to Nintendo's Portable, the Game Boy Advance. Obviously, the tech was more limited, so the developers had quite the task at hand with translating Shimomura's music to the portable platform. It wasn't just retreads, however. Shade of Memory still had a fair amount of new music created just for the game that would be fully realized in its PlayStation 2 remake, Chain of Memories. First and perhaps most prominently was a new rendition of Dearly Beloved. This would become a tradition for the Kingdom Hearts series. A brand new entry meant a brand new arrangement of the song. Recognizable tune, but with new flavor. In the case of Chain of Memories, the new version takes the game's concept of memory and loss of heart, featuring a more ethereal, dreamlike feeling, paired with the classic melody with new entrants coming in to accompany this more hazy version. Kingdom Hearts is a series where multiple themes and tracks come back in brand new ways to reflect the new status quo of each game. And in this case, with Shimomura's new version of Dearly Beloved as an introduction to the new game, provides hints to the player, something different but still familiar, a new air of mystery about it, and the dreamlike quality that brings the concept of questioning what's real and what's not. A conflict Sora faces in the game due to Naminé's erasure of his memories and replacing them with fake ones. Chain of Memories does primarily feature encores from the original Kingdom Hearts for world and fight music, but all the action that takes place in the game's primary location, Castle Oblivion, would feature new compositions. Most notably, and in my opinion most underrated, is the final boss piece, Lord of the Castle, that plays through the multi-phase fight with Organization 13 member Marluxia. Integrating what acts as a battle theme for the Organization 13 overall and making it more grand and epic than previously heard versions of the melody. It is a final boss after all. There's also a sense of sorrow to it as well, with the choir vocals sounding like a lament over what Sora has lost to get to this point, as he fights not just for himself to regain his lost memories, but for his friends, and even for Naminé, who too in the end was manipulated by Marluxia and the Organization into doing their dirty work. It makes for a wonderful contrast, matching the epic drama with intimate tragedy in a tour de force of a final boss theme. Chain of Memories may have been mostly a musical retread of the first entry in the series, but the new work Shimomura composed still stood out in the gaming landscape. And now, with the imminent release of Kingdom Hearts 2, the musical world of Kingdom Hearts was about to truly open up. With the 2005 release of Kingdom Hearts 2, players were introduced to an absolutely incredible amount of new music, including new arrangements evolving even further, like the Organization 13 theme from Chain of Memories. Perhaps most notably was the work done with the theme for Roxas, our unexpected new introductory character at the beginning of the game, with no signs of Sora anywhere, at least not obviously at first. Roxas' story is a tragic one, and his theme reflects that. Wistful piano plays, backing a piece filled with melancholy sentiment and longing for something unidentifiable at first. It matches up to what players are presented with. It's the last few days of summer vacation for the teen, and he's trying to make the most of it with his 3 close friends, even as weird anomalies and creatures start cropping up around his home in Twilight Town. So, the sentimental, sort of sad nature of this theme can be interpreted as that sad longing some may have as a kid for summer to never end, just to be able to spend every day carefree and with your friends you care about forever. This analysis becomes more complex, however, when Roxas' true nature is revealed. He's the nobody of Sora, and he was never really supposed to exist. Not only that, the Twilight Town he exists in is all a simulation. None of it is real. So really, his theme isn't a longing for summer to never end, but a longing to be his own person, to exist solely for himself and lead a life that he chooses, and one not controlled by outside forces like the Organization, Diz, anyone. It's a truly powerful piece that evolves within the game as players reach a major climax towards the end, a showdown with Roxas himself. Roxas' theme evolves into a new piece known as The Other Promise. His theme serves as the absolute backbone to this new arrangement, which is now filled with a beautifully grand orchestration, only enhanced by the redone compositions created for the HD re-release of Kingdom Hearts 2 in the HD 2.5 Remix collection. It's like a big emotional release for Roxas, all his fury and anger at the world being stolen from him by forces out of his control. It all comes out in this epic encounter, and the music reflects that emotional state. The piano of his theme is still there and prominently featured, but now the instrument's notes hit much harder, contributing to the more intense tone of the piece. There's still moments of calm, however, as the music still gets quiet and contemplative, less angry and more complex as it winds to a close. Roxas is rightfully angry, but through his fight with Sora, a sort of test for his other half, He accepts who he is and that he can still go forward in this new normal for him, especially after having a companion he can relate to with Naminé, who turns out to be the nobody of Kairi. Roxas is a fan-favorite character in the Kingdom Hearts series, and honestly the music paired with the character I think contributes a lot to that status. This isn't a diss on him as a character, it's just that Yoko Shimomura really composed some truly special music for his journey, and it's a beautiful example of gameplay, story, and music in a video game coming together to create something powerful and magical. Before the Kingdom Hearts series could move forward, we had to go back. With the release of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, the series dove into Disney worlds based on older classics such as Snow White and Cinderella. Along with a bevy of new character themes for the new cast, Birth by Sleep's score by Yoko Shimomura really exemplified how she emulated the Disney style of music and made it her own. A strong example of this came with the world theme for the Enchanted Dominion, a world based on the 1959 animated classic Sleeping Beauty. That film's score by George Bruns pulled a lot from Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty ballet, taking melodies from that and integrating them into songs such as Once Upon a Dream. For the game world in Birth by Sleep, the music pulls from both the film and ballet to create something completely new, yet still feels plucked right from the film. Taking place during the film's events after Aurora has been cursed to an eternal slumber along with the rest of the kingdom, the music conveys an unnerving peace. Things seem okay and quiet and sedate, but there's also danger there, an eeriness. Birth by Sleep was released for the PlayStation Portable, and as a result the environments weren't able to be terribly detailed, so the music does a lot of the heavy lifting for conveying the mood of the new land its main characters find themselves in. Shimomura has the unenviable task of creating music that echoes Disney classics but also feels like part of the overall musical tapestry of the Kingdom Hearts series itself. Really, she passes, no surprise, with flying colors. It makes for a wholly unique video game soundtrack, with the music of Enchanted Dominion being especially singled out by fans and critics as some truly amazing work. Another piece from Birth by Sleep that particularly stands out is Enter the Darkness, what is ostensibly the theme for its new villain, Vanitas. It starts out sounding unlike anything heard yet in Kingdom Hearts. A distant sound echoes in the distance while heavy drums and synths sound what seem like an impending doom before kicking into high gear about 15 seconds into a pulse-racing, scary battle theme. Horns blast through the percussion in a descending melody like lava pouring out of a volcano. Death from above, quite literally in Vanitas' case.
Too slow.
The music develops further into an almost heroic-sounding anthem that hints at the duality to Vanitas' character and his connections with Ventus and Sora. It's definitely one of the more aggressive themes for Kingdom Hearts, and shows through music the anger and malice that Vanitas feels towards everything, especially Ventus. In what could just be another high-energy battle theme, Shimomura weaves in other character themes and unexpected twists to create a piece that's surprising and an absolute joy to hear when it shows up in Birth by Sleep and future games. The writing and performances for these characters can easily show the player what makes them tick, but the music really helps show even further who they are, and hint at their true nature. An amazing feat that weaves story into the series that the player may not even fully notice initially. As the Kingdom Hearts series progressed forward, Shimomura would continue to evolve Dearly Beloved into new forms. Not only that, but when old worlds from previous games would show up in later entries in the series, the opportunity was provided to give them new arrangements as well. With the release of Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance, an iconic world from the original game made a grand return, Traverse Town. Now, Traverse Town had appeared in other entries beyond the first Kingdom Hearts, like in Chain of Memories, but in that case the same music was reused. With its return in Dream Drop Distance, we get to hear a new arrangement of the world's music that was more sleepy, dreamlike, and overall relaxed. The Traverse Town music already provided a more relaxed atmosphere compared to more propulsive tracks, but the Dream Drop rendition placed emphasis on this version of the world being a sleeping world in the game. With that, the theme became much more of a chill tune with a brand new intro before the main melody that was lighter with more music box-like qualities to ease the player into this new version of the town. It was the same, but different. A feeling of nostalgia and comfort, but with a hint of the unexpected. It's a lovely way to start a game, like a warm blanket of sound, but with just enough there to pique the player's interest that one new thing or person could be around the corner to shake up the status quo. At this point, it had been about 10 years since the original Kingdom Hearts, so now the music could really take advantage of drawing out the player's memories of experiencing the original game way back in 2002. Nostalgia is a powerful thing, and Yoko Shimomura wielded it in an absolutely wonderful way over the course of her work on Kingdom Hearts. And not just in a superficial, hey, I remember that kind of way. It's rare for one composer to work on a series on every title for a few years, let alone a decade. Like how the Kingdom Hearts story rewards longtime players who have played since the beginning with character callbacks and references, the music too does the same, bringing back these classic melodies and twisting them, drawing out emotions that are different for new players and old. For anyone playing Dream Drop Distance as their first Kingdom Hearts title, they can be swept up in Traverse Town's lackadaisical feel with its music as they run around the quaint world. For returning players, however, not only do those feelings exist, but the callbacks to the original melody draw out feelings of safety and nostalgia. It makes for a lovely beginning to the game for veterans as they're eased into the new mechanics in a familiar environment with familiar music, while still keeping them on their toes, especially with the new version of Traverse Town's battle music hand in hand as well. The biggest hat trick of Kingdom Hearts' musical score is the culmination of everything in the climactic title, Kingdom Hearts 3. The story has been building for over 15 years to this capper to the Xehanort saga, and boy does Yoko Shimomura know it with its music. Where else to begin than with Dearly Beloved? The classic tune begins completely differently with a gorgeous piano solo that gives way to some lilting flutes as it all builds with the new melodies before the classic notes of Dearly Beloved finally emerge. It all gives the feeling of a grand culmination. Dearly Beloved at this point has been remixed so many times, but never quite like this. Shimomura truly goes big with a sweeping orchestral sound that just feels grand and big. The instruments flow like water, spilling forth in a rendition with a full orchestra that is absolutely splendid to hear. On a personal note, I cried when I first heard this version of Dearly Beloved. The wait in anticipation for Kingdom Hearts 3 as an original fan of the series was huge. I truly don't think an imminent game release will ever top it for me. So to put the game into my PlayStation 4 in 2019 and hear this piece again, it was like a salve for all that waiting. Kingdom Hearts 3 was finally here, and Shimomura wanted you to know it with this version of Dearly Beloved. It's truly one of the best arrangements of the iconic theme in this entire series. This idea of climax is pervasive throughout Kingdom Hearts 3, not just in story and gameplay all bringing what had occurred before together, but musically as well. Various character themes receive new arrangements, and some are even combined into something brand new. Hearts as One is an absolutely show-stopping combination of The Other Promise, Roxas' theme, and Shion's theme from 358 Days Over 2. Instead of being melancholy and conveying the tragedy of the characters, their themes are brought together in the moment of their triumphant return. Their past, them losing themselves, now give way to finally truly being their own persons again, and now doing whatever they can to triumph over the evil forces that sought to erase them. As with other rearrangements, the recontextualizing of the emotions behind their characters makes for powerful stuff, and combining the two together into one unified theme really showcases how they're a team, how they're truly one in their friendship and desire to save each other and their companions. Used as a battle theme too, everything is appropriately big. Choir singing, a full orchestra at a 10 on the power scale. It all melds into a truly epic theme that not only serves as one of many climaxes in Kingdom Hearts 3, but as a culmination of past game events that isn't seen often in video gaming. Kingdom Hearts may be a bit flawed in its long-term storytelling, but the emotional payoff is there, and the music is ready to make these moments absolutely sing with power. Speaking of bringing things together, Yoko Shimomura wasn't the only composer on Kingdom Hearts 3. While she was still the main creator, other composers were brought in to provide additional material. A tricky task was at hand, particularly for the world of Port Royal, based off of Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean films. The Hans Zimmer score from those films, specifically the third film, At World's End, weren't going to be used. Therefore, original themes were composed for characters such as Davy Jones by composer Yoshitaka Suzuki. Like other pieces in the series, it had to evoke the Disney franchise while still being something wholly original. With Davy Jones, he's a supernatural evil pirate who also has his own weird love of music, playing an organ on his pirate ship. It's an interesting villain to craft a theme for, and a tricky balance to create something that evokes Hans Zimmer's music but still be its own thing. At the same time, it had to fit in with Shimomura's work as well. Davy Jones' new theme was a wonderful piece that was very singular and wonderful to listen to in its own right. Suzuki's work on Kingdom Hearts 3, along with other composers Takaharu Ishimoto and Tsuyoshi Sekito, marked a new era of collaboration on a Kingdom Hearts title that, while not a first, as other composers had collaborated on titles like 358 Over 2 Days and Birth by Sleep, showed signs of the power of Kingdom Hearts' music permeating with other creators that could aid in weaving the series' epic musical tapestry. In my personal opinion, the most consistently underrated tracks that come out of Kingdom Hearts are the pieces of music that play over the credits. Not the Utada Hikaru songs, but the actual composed music created by Yoko Shimomura and arranged by Kaoru Wada in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. Focusing on the numbered titles, we have March Caprice for piano and orchestra for Kingdom Hearts, Fantasia alla Marcia for piano, chorus, and orchestra in Kingdom Hearts 2, and finally Rhapsody in Tres for piano, chorus, and orchestra in Kingdom Hearts 3. These pieces make for wonderful cappers to each game and serve as a way to sort of reflect on the adventure the player has just taken. Starting with March Caprice, it begins as a triumphant arrangement of Dearly Beloved, a quite literal, hey, you did it, in music form before giving way to a march. With small refrains prominently featuring piano, a telltale sign of a piece of music that's from Kingdom Hearts at this point, March Caprice sums up the initial adventure, evoking the memories of the player's accomplishments while also showing epilogue scenes from the various Disney worlds on screen as the music plays. A rather straightforward piece of music, but delightful and really emotionally rewarding nevertheless. With Kingdom Hearts 2 and Fantasia alla Marcia, however, we get something a bit different. Quick bias report, this is my favorite piece of music from the Kingdom Hearts series overall, ever. I just adore it. Now, going through various movements, Fantasia alla Marcia hops through the entirety of the Kingdom Hearts musical journey, from triumphant battle themes, dramatic odes to villainy, and epic arrangements evoking Sora's heroic journey to save his friends and the worlds from darkness. It really plays as a greatest hits album of Kingdom Hearts. Gorgeous singing, complex and powerful piano, and a full orchestra just absolutely at peak performance. What's so wonderful about it too is that there's no visual component necessary to really make it all work. As I've said before, with visual media, it's all about pairing the music with imagery that really brings all the emotional resonance the creatives behind the product want to convey together. Really powerful music, however, doesn't necessarily need that. When it can really exist on its own and still convey the same kind of feeling and power you get while playing the game or watching a movie, that's the stuff that really, really works. That's what I mean by Fantasia alla Marcia being quintessential Kingdom Hearts music. It's a series about kindness, friendship, the power of hearts and love, epic adventures, quiet tragedies, just running the gamut of emotions. Fantasia really encapsulates all of those moments, especially in the game it's attached to, Kingdom Hearts 2. I've said in my previous essay that Kingdom Hearts 2's ending is one of the best in video gaming, and Utada's theme song, arranged here in its After the Battle version, really helps sell it. For that song to transition right into Fantasia alla Marcia is one of the best 1-2 punches of video game music ever, in my opinion. It's a grand musical journey that caps off the grand adventure in the best way possible, leaving players satisfied long after they've sat down the controller. Sound is such a powerful thing. When releasing a piece of media, be it a video game, a movie, a TV show, a video essay, sound is imperative. If you have bad audio, you're sunk. It doesn't matter how everything looks, and music is really such an important factor. You can have some absolutely mind-blowing imagery to showcase in your product, but if the music isn't there to help underline those emotions, the impact is lessened by an enormous deal. Kingdom Hearts is an iconic franchise for many reasons, and I really do believe its music by Yoko Shimomura is one of the main ones that really has made it last so long. It's a tough act to follow with creating something born out of Disney's beloved storytelling and Square's grand history of RPG adventures, but boy did this experiment pay off musically. The music of Kingdom Hearts is some of the best in gaming, crafting powerful character themes, epic battle melodies, and tragic harmonies that bring this wild story to life. I truly believe Kingdom Hearts wouldn't be where it is today without its gorgeous music. It's rare to have a video game series last this long with the same composer, allowing them to develop themes and just continuously expand on the musical storytelling of the series for such a long time. 2 whole decades now, that's nothing to scoff at. Yoko Shimomura has done the impossible with creating something so memorable. Whatever emotion you're feeling now, happiness, sadness, anger, remorse, joy. There's a piece of music from this series that'll hit you when you need it and maybe bring you comfort. It's nostalgia for the Disney films of your childhood, and at this point for many, the adventures they had back on the PlayStation 2 with the original Kingdom Hearts 20 years ago. For those who have played through the entire series, and for those who have played it for these last 20 years, the music of the series more likely than not holds a special place in your heart, full of memories of good times and bad. Memories of escaping into a fictional world to get away from your life's problems, to be swept away on an epic multi-game journey with some of the best music in gaming history. That's the musical power of Kingdom Hearts, evoking strong feelings that are different and special between each and every player of the saga. It gives you permission to feel the full gamut of emotion while playing, creating memories linked to the beautiful melodies crafted to carry the story of this cast of characters to their joyful and sometimes tragic ends. And even then, there's still more to come. Everything came to a climax in Kingdom Hearts 3, but now I for one can't wait to see what new melodies emerge in the games to come. Walt Disney Television Animation had quite the heyday in the 90s. Not only were they seeing the success of the Disney Afternoon, a block of shows that aired in syndication for kids after they got out of school, featuring programs like DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Adventures of the Gummy Bears, and Tailspin, but also with spinning off their own animated films into the realm of television. With the success of The Little Mermaid in 1989, an animated TV spin-off was commissioned and would begin airing on CBS Saturday mornings for a healthy 3-season run from 1992 to 1994. With the success of the Little Mermaid TV show, along with Disney Feature Animation's subsequent films, it was determined that the upcoming film, Aladdin, would be the next project to receive its own spin-off series. Developed by then Disney TV veterans Tad Stones and Alan Zaslav, the Aladdin TV series was set to kick off with a 1-hour special. However, an idea was pitched to have the special be released on home video instead. The heads of Disney, specifically Chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, Disney Feature Animation President Peter Schneider, and CEO Michael Eisner were resistant to the idea. The Disney brand, then having a renaissance with the success of its feature animation division, was seen as prestige and premium, and Eisner, at the time, didn't want to dilute the brand with what could be perceived as a cheap cash-in off the success of Aladdin, the film. However, after viewing dailies for the film, to be titled The Return of Jafar, impressed by the animation, the project was pushed forward as a direct-to-video release.
Now, Aladdin will have to use all his tricks to face his biggest challenge ever. So join all your favorite characters, Aladdin, Jasmine, Iago, and the Genie.
Did you miss me?
Coming out on home video in 1994, just 2 years after the original film's release, The Return of Jafar was huge. The very first installment in Walt Disney Home Video's collection series on VHS, it sold 4.6 million copies in its first week on sale, later going on to sell around 15 million and grossing $300 million worldwide. According to the LA Times, the success of the film removed the stigma of direct-to-video projects being of lesser quality, and Disney followed the money. For the next 14 years, Disney would consistently release direct-to-video films that served as sequels to their animated classics, from The Return of Jafar to Beauty and the Beast: The Enchanted Christmas, Pocahontas 2, The Lion King 2, Mulan 2, Cinderella 2, Cinderella 3, the list goes on. These direct-to-video movies, while financially successful, actually did what Michael Eisner feared they would do, at least until he didn't care and saw the money to be made. General consensus had the vast majority of them being, well, bad. Very bad. Diluting what was considered a very good thing, Disney's theatrical animated classics, and turning them into shells of themselves. And pushing out so many over a decade plus, it made them less special. Makes sense then that Disney finally ended the direct-to-video movies and didn't produce any more spin-offs of the sort beyond franchises like the Disney Fairies Tinkerbell films, and TV show spin-offs like the wonderful Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. So why am I telling you about this? What does this have to do with Kingdom Hearts? Well, Disney repackaging their films and characters into new forms has been an ongoing practice well beyond just the direct-to-video sequels, though those are arguably the most notorious. Prior to video cassettes, Disney would re-release their films in theaters so people could see them again. Then, after the direct-to-videos and the advent of digital 3D technology, Disney would then re-release their bigger films like The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and The Nightmare Before Christmas back in theaters using that new technology. Hell, Nightmare was an annual 3D re-release for quite a few years. The desire to see these characters again, whether in re-release or on a new adventure of sorts straight to video, stems from nostalgia. So many people had memories of seeing these Disney characters in theaters, getting merchandise, going to the Disney parks, what have you, and to rediscover them is an exciting, easy proposition. We all in some form recall something from our childhoods fondly, and Disney found a way to monetize that feeling. This practice prevails still today. Just look at the latest slate of live-action Disney remakes that have been commonplace since Maleficent performed so well back in 2014. They're essentially the same as the direct-to-video sequels, but on a grander $200 million budget scale. Love The Lion King? See the new CGI version with photorealistic animals. Love Pinocchio? Watch the remade version on Disney Plus where there's a significant shot of Pinocchio staring at a pile of shit. I digress. This seems a bit cynical and, well, it is. Being a fan of Disney is complicated. I love these characters. I grew up with these characters. I'm the target audience to see these characters from my childhood that I'm really attached to repackaged into new ways. It's the same with remakes of any kind. Love Freaky Friday from 1976? Well, check out this remake of the thing you liked, now with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. When looking at the big picture, it is a cynical practice to use familiar and safe concepts to make an easy buck off of audiences who can easily be sold on a product that comes with warm familiarity. In a way, this is Kingdom Hearts. The big selling point of the initial game, no getting around it, was nostalgia. The pitch. What if we merge the video game prowess and characters of Squaresoft's Final Fantasy series with the classic storytelling of Disney's animated films? A merging of two titans of animation and video games into one new product. And it worked! Kingdom Hearts was a different beast that truly came out of nowhere. Just, a game featuring Aerith from Final Fantasy VII, voiced by Mandy Moore no less, having a casual conversation with Donald, Goofy, with Squall.
That's Leon.
And Yuffie next door. That's really a sentence I just spoke out loud that's now just a normal fact. Kingdom Hearts existed as one of Squaresoft's new next-gen forays on the PlayStation 2. Square had released
The Bouncer
the year before, which experimented with a more linear, cinematic approach to gameplay, telling a straightforward story that was quick, propulsive, and featured state-of-the-art graphics. Kingdom Hearts was also a major visual showcase for the PlayStation 2, and the power Squaresoft could harness from it. But in its case, it featured more open levels in exploration, letting players dive into their favorite Disney movies and really poke around and discover new areas never before seen. Nostalgia is the basis for all of it. It's the reason anyone bought Kingdom Hearts. For me, at the time in 2002, I saw a commercial for some game with a catchy pop song playing over it with a bunch of Disney characters I loved. I wanted to play it so bad. I didn't have a PS2, but I wanted to play it. I distinctly remember this shot of Maleficent turning around to face the camera and just being enchanted by it. I was used to the more crunchy polygonal look of PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 games, so seeing this generational leap at this time, the characters looked stunning. So when my brother got a PlayStation 2 for his birthday and I was allowed to pick out a game for myself that he was also interested in, I was immediately drawn to Kingdom Hearts. It was the Disney factor, and I'm sure for other gamers at the time who had been playing the Final Fantasy games on the PS1 and earlier, their selling point was seeing their favorite characters like Cloud and Sephiroth newly rendered on the PS2 in much higher fidelity. Seeing older products made anew, that was imperative to Kingdom Hearts' sales pitch. Now really in this case, was this a bad thing? On one hand, nostalgia is a nice, comfy blanket, something familiar and safe that is an easy sell to people. Like I said earlier, what's not to love about seeing your favorite characters in a new package? On the other, the safeness of nostalgia can easily lead to complacency, not venturing out on more risky storytelling, new ideas, new characters, etc. The initial excitement of a new thing with familiar characters is enticing. Oh, I love Aladdin, now there's an Aladdin 2? But if the new product doesn't live up to lofty expectations, there's the concern that it could tarnish the original thing. I'm of the mind that if I love a movie and it gets a sequel that stinks, it doesn't ruin the initial movie. I adore Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, flaws and all. I abhor The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, with apologies to Jennifer Love Hewitt. My dislike, however, doesn't affect how I feel about the original. Your mileage may vary, and I've seen the opinion online numerous times that Disney's live-action remakes are harming the reputation of their classics. That's absolutely valid, but again, it just depends on the person. That's the inherent danger of nostalgia. It's not a bad thing to want to see new games, movies, shows, whatever, based on established characters that you love. But if the continued adventures fail to impress, it can potentially have a ripple effect that lessens the quality of the original thing in the minds of viewers. And really, with Disney, they ring that nostalgia gong so often and so frequently, it can feel like diminishing returns. That's what happened with the direct-to-video sequels, and it's what may soon happen with the live-action remakes, if the reaction to Pinocchio is anything to consider. Nostalgia isn't bad or good, it just depends on how it's wielded. Now with Kingdom Hearts, in my opinion, it's firmly good. The power of nostalgia is wielded in Kingdom Hearts simply as a basis for the story and worlds to spring forth from. The basic pitch of Disney meets Final Fantasy isn't the whole point of the franchise, but merely its jumping off point. That's not to say the feeling of nostalgia ever goes away when playing through Kingdom Hearts as a series, quite the contrary. It's always a lot of fun to wait and see what Disney worlds will appear in new titles, be it returning worlds shown in a new light, or brand new ones based on more recent releases. Honestly, I'm most here for the bizarre curveball worlds that no one would ever expect, like Tron or Pirates of the Caribbean. More of these in the future, please. The nostalgia is part of the fun and initial appeal. What keeps the players coming back beyond Disney are the original characters and the ongoing story, finding interesting ways to incorporate the existing Disney characters into a sprawling Final Fantasy-style story. When it comes to the Kingdom Hearts series and its relationship with nostalgia, 20 years on, it is now operating on multiple levels, a veritable Byzantine puzzle of fond memories, spectacle, and Chicken Little. Nostalgia's subject is ever-changing as the years go on, so in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, the recent cultural touchdowns for kids and teens were Disney films like The Nightmare Before Christmas, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, the Disney of the 90s. Not to scare anyone about the passage of time, but the more recently adapted Disney movies in Kingdom Hearts 3, they're the Aladdins and Mulans for a new generation of kids. Tangled was in 2010, Frozen 2013. It makes remarkable business sense for newer entries in Kingdom Hearts to dip into the Disney of the more recent past, more so than going even further back. My eyes lit up at the commercials for the original Kingdom Hearts, and I'm sure it was the same for the 2019 release of Kingdom Hearts 3, when ads showcased worlds featuring Rapunzel, Elsa, and Baymax. Even more so now, Disney Interactive isn't much of a thing anymore along with the movie licensed game in general. When films like Aladdin came out, there was a marquee game to play alongside it, and nowadays Disney Interactive's output is much less, with everything licensed out to other game studios like Square Enix, as opposed to developing anything in-house. Besides those horrifying knockoff touchscreen games, there hasn't been a lot of interactive media for Frozen beyond some DS games when the original came out. In this case, of Kingdom Hearts 3 and Frozen specifically, this was the first time these beloved characters have been fully realized on this scale in a video game, an absolute selling point for Kingdom Hearts 3 as an experience for anyone outside looking in on the franchise. The point being, nostalgia has a different meaning for every person. For me, it was the Disney characters I'd grown up watching on VHS appearing in a video game in great detail for the first time ever in 2002. Nowadays, it's similar vibes for kids seeing their more recent favorite characters appear in even more detail than ever before. I personally don't harbor nostalgia for films such as Frozen or Tangled. I like them, don't get me wrong, but I don't have major childhood memories attached to them. For younger teens and kids though, these are the movies they grew up on, and Kingdom Hearts then utilizes those fond memories to bring new audiences into its wild, ongoing story. Now another layer of nostalgia, the nostalgia for Kingdom Hearts itself. Again, apologies for discussing the passage of time, but let's really think about it for a second. Kingdom Hearts is 20 years old this year. 20. 2002 to 2022. Dear God. Not only does Kingdom Hearts wield nostalgia to draw players in for whatever entry of the series was releasing at the time, but now the series is a legacy franchise with a lot of history behind it. I can still remember the trip to Target where I saw the game behind those plexiglass walls along with the rest of those PlayStation 2 cases. They were so tall and not CD jewel cases. So weird. And those demo kiosk screens that you practically broke your neck trying to look up at. I'm frankly kind of shocked that with such a big anniversary for the series, Square hasn't pushed for some kind of remake of the original game to commemorate the time past. Listen, some games have been remade well before 20 years have gone by, but now that Kingdom Hearts has been around for so long, don't be surprised to see Square and Disney to really start playing up that storied legacy franchise angle in not too long in its marketing. It sure as hell will probably work on me. And honestly, they've done it already with their most recent game. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory may not be everyone's cup of tea, non-fans of rhythm games need not apply, but its whole angle is a celebration of the series' music from the original jaunts on Destiny Islands to the climactic battles in Kingdom Hearts 3. I say, oh, Square may start really pushing nostalgia for the original game pretty soon, but you know what? Too late. It's happening. And I personally welcome it. When you've been around for over 20 years now, hey, that's cause to celebrate, right? But for those like me who have played Kingdom Hearts since the beginning of 2002, hell, even those who jumped into the series in 2006 with Kingdom Hearts 2, or even Chain of Memories in the Game Boy Advance, we've been with this franchise for the long haul. Speaking from my own experience, Kingdom Hearts is such a treasured part of my childhood that I'll just forever be fond of it. Maybe I'll stop playing new entries one day. Doubtful, but let's just be hypothetical for a minute. Kingdom Hearts was one of my formative gaming experiences. The PlayStation 2 wasn't the first console I played. That honor belongs to the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 following that. But Kingdom Hearts came out at a point in my childhood when I was really starting to appreciate storytelling and characters in video games beyond surface level "this is fun" commentary. This isn't to say I was some uber philosopher of interactive media. I was in elementary school, but I just really started tuning into what was actually going on with the character I was playing as. It helped that Kingdom Hearts was my first exposure to the more in-depth storytelling of Square, in my defense. I love them to death, but games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro aren't remembered for their deep storytelling on the PlayStation 1. When you start digging deep into something, really loving it and taking it all in, especially being a kid and also terrible at video games and taking a really long time to beat them, you form some integral memories. I still remember the first time I played Kingdom Hearts, the first time I beat Darkside and was scared to go to sleep after seeing Destiny Island's fall to darkness. How my friends and I would pass our memory cards between each other to see if we could help the other beat a certain boss. Riku, too, in Hollow Bastion, by the way. The first time ever actually beating Kingdom Hearts, just crying as the credits rolled and that slowed down version of Simple and Clean played as Sora and Kairi were separated once again. The secret ending, Another Side, Another Story, absolutely blew my mind when I first witnessed it. I thought we were getting some kind of Kingdom Hearts movie or sequel, not fully understanding what it meant. It's very interesting to recall because I was so into Kingdom Hearts that I remember so many details about it, with the added bonus of the strategy guide that, yes, I still own to this day. I remember all of the Heartless names, all the boss names, even what location areas of the game are called. The final mix version changes some stuff, but my memories of the original vanilla release are burned into my brain. Kingdom Hearts 2 was my most hotly anticipated game ever, and I still remember less details about it compared to the original. And at that point, I had begun following websites like KingdomHearts2.net, before it became KH Insider, to see all the latest news on the then upcoming sequel. So suffice to say, the original game is extraordinarily meaningful to me. It came at just the right time in my childhood to really latch on. And I don't think there's really other games of that early PS2 era that could have affected me the same way. Spyro the Dragon was huge for me as a kid, but in its leap to the PlayStation 2, it lost a lot of its magic when it was created by developers outside of Insomniac Games. Kingdom Hearts was the new, fresh, exciting thing, and it featured beloved Disney characters I just adored. I had recently gotten into The Nightmare Before Christmas, so imagine my joy when I saw the screenshot of Jack Skellington on the back cover. It drew me in with Disney and blew my mind with its Final Fantasy storytelling. It didn't matter that I had no idea who Cloud or Yuffie were, I was along for the ride. Like I said, we've reached a point in the franchise that Kingdom Hearts is nostalgia itself. I've said how much the original game means to me, and I don't doubt many others share the same feelings, even from those who may have discovered the games much later through the HD Remix re-releases on PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox, PC, and no other versions that I'm intentionally failing to mention. Not only is Kingdom Hearts a nostalgic franchise in its content calling back to Disney movies of old, but now the developers have the power to draw people in with memories of the original game too. Melody of Memory really feels like an appetizer with what they can now do. So, this whole time I've been Disney, 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 but what about the other side of the mashup? What about Square? What about Final Fantasy? While I personally can't attest to having Final Fantasy nostalgia at the time of Kingdom Hearts' release, it definitely was a huge factor in bringing in Square's typical game audience into the fold of this new series. I didn't get into Final Fantasy until about 2005 with, oddly enough, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I recognized the characters like Cloud and Aerith from Kingdom Hearts, so it made me want to rent the movie at Blockbuster. But plenty of other gamers, more than likely older ones than me, had been growing up on the previous entries in Final Fantasy, especially when the series really broke more into the mainstream with the PlayStation 1 entries like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, and spin-offs like Final Fantasy Tactics. The JRPG scene had always been niche. It still is in many ways, but Square had really started building more well-known, beloved characters that could be utilized in new ways in new products, not unlike the Disney characters that pop up in Kingdom Hearts. It's the other side of the same coin. Whereas kids like me saw the Disney characters in Kingdom Hearts and wanted to play it, there were plenty of people who saw characters like Cloud, Yuffie, Aerith, Leon, we're still going with Leon in this case, in brand new detail on the PlayStation 2 who are hooked into buying the game. It helped as well that Kingdom Hearts wasn't a traditional turn-based RPG, but a brand new action experience with real-time combat. I mean, yeah, Donald and Goofy were also there, but where else could you find yourself fighting Cloud in a battle arena in a fully 3D real-time environment? And fully voiced too. At this point, we're used to characters like Cloud having a voice actor from things like Advent Children and the recent remake project. But hearing actual voices, be it English or Japanese, come out of these already beloved characters for the first time, a treat. And that's not even getting into the absolutely wild voice casting like David Boreanaz as Leon and Mandy Moore as Aerith. It kind of made for a really interesting factor that when merging Square and Disney together, the Square characters would get some relatively prominent actors and stars to play them. I mean, Lance Bass was Sephiroth. Who would ever thought, you know? While the level of presence of Square's characters in more recent entries in Kingdom Hearts can be debated elsewhere, it made for another exciting angle of the series to just see what characters would pop up and how they would pop up too. Yuna, Riku, and Pain from Final Fantasy X-2 become little fairies. Auron from Final Fantasy X is a warrior in the Hercules underworld. Tidus and Wakka from Final Fantasy X and Selphie from 8 have been aged down to young teens. Cypher from 8 is still a little shit. The list goes on, and it was its own fun compared to those just waiting to see what Disney Worlds and characters would show up. While Kingdom Hearts only came a few years later after such pivotal titles like Final Fantasy VII and just 1 year after the series has jumped to the PS2 with Final Fantasy X, it could mine the nostalgia of people's memories of playing those games and experiencing their stories and characters for the first time. In reality, there's no finite point where something can really be considered nostalgic. Now, I'm not about to pull out the literal definition of the word, but as long as it's in the past in some way, it can be nostalgic to you. So we have Disney nostalgia, Final Fantasy nostalgia, Kingdom Hearts itself nostalgia. It's a lot, and I think it just speaks to how Kingdom Hearts wields it in a really smart and powerful way. Being tied strictly to nostalgia can be a negative experience in media. Like I said, just look at the recent reception of the Disney live-action remakes and how the Disney direct-to-video sequel industry sort of came crashing down in the end. But Kingdom Hearts found a savvy way to merge two distinct pillars of pop culture together and have something new spring forth. If the series had literally just been retreads of Disney and Final Fantasy plots with nothing else, we never would have made it to a 20th anniversary. Because these classic properties were twisted and utilized in new ways to serve a brand new story with brand new characters, it kept things feeling fresh. Whether they succeeded is up for debate, obviously, with any piece of media, but I think it's fair to say that after 20 years and with Kingdom Hearts 3 becoming the best-selling entry in the series, we can say this formula is still working. It wasn't just the retreads, but nostalgia and familiarity used to support Sora, Kairi, Riku, Roxas, Xion, Terra, Aqua, Ventus. A whole slew of new and many now beloved characters to tell a brand new story that uses both Disney and Final Fantasy as the soil to grow forth these new characters and plots. Kingdom Hearts is a truly unique beast. From its characters, its music, its story, there's so much to talk about. None of it could have been seen through, though, without the power of nostalgia. Those comforting memories we have tied to beloved characters of both animation and gaming brought so many people to the series with the original game in 2002 and every entry after that. Talk to a bunch of Kingdom Hearts fans. Chances are every single game in the franchise served as their own entry point into the whole series. They didn't all start with the first. The memories of Disney movies and characters you watched when you were younger, the Final Fantasy games you played, it all came together to create something special that has now somehow gone on now for 20 years. 20! I still find that number absolutely stunning. Playing the original as my first PlayStation 2 game back in 2002, never in a million years did I think this action media mashup would persevere for this long. Nostalgia's an interesting thing. In media, in business, it's wielded in ways that are tired and simple pandering, diluting whatever came before. On the other hand, it's used as an entry point into something entirely new, and that's where I think Kingdom Hearts lands. Sure, maybe not everyone would agree on this, some claiming it uses Disney as a crutch, that it should be more Final Fantasy than Disney. That's a debate for another day. But in the end, it seems to have found its own balance of new and old. If it wasn't for this successful merging of two seemingly disparate sources, Kingdom Hearts would have never come to be. Nostalgia could evoke especially strong feelings from many, and it's been fascinating to see how Kingdom Hearts has wielded those emotions through its time in video games. And with age, the series has nostalgia for itself now. It seems a bit messy, but with recent nostalgic endeavors like Melody of Memory revisiting the past through music, I'm going to be very curious to see in what ways this power is wielded for future entries in the franchise, especially as it has become more successful than ever, and as we move into a brand new, unknown phase of storytelling. Nostalgia hasn't failed Kingdom Hearts yet. and I for one am ready for what new horizons will be discovered in Kingdom Hearts 4 and beyond. What a year it's been, huh? While we haven't received any new Kingdom Hearts games for its 20th anniversary specifically, at least not yet, there's still time, this year has been a pretty great time to be a Kingdom Hearts fan. On a personal note, I'm still buzzing with excitement from that reveal of both Kingdom Hearts Missing Link and Kingdom Hearts 4. Kingdom Hearts 4, that title still seems fake. It's also been an absolute joy to look at these games through this series of essays from spotlighting the storytelling, the music, the nostalgia that powers it all. There's so many facets to Kingdom Hearts that are worth diving in and discussing. So now, at the conclusion of my series celebrating Kingdom Hearts' 20th anniversary, I heard you. There's a lot of characters that were left out of the initial video that absolutely deserve the spotlight. We've had Sora, Riku, Kairi, Roxas, Aqua, Xemnas, Xehanort, but what about the rest? Well, I gave you 7 character studies last time, so hey, how about another 13? Because Kingdom Hearts number joke, of course. This time, however, I've enlisted the help of several phenomenal creators and Kingdom Hearts fans to all gather together to celebrate the characters and stories of this beloved series and talk about what makes it all so meaningful to us. Like I've said before, it's the absolute sincere power of emotion that really makes Kingdom Hearts stand out in the video game crowd and arguably what makes it so impactful for those who play it. So here we are again to close out Kingdom Hearts' 20th anniversary with me and a host of others to talk about why these characters are so wonderful. The emotional storytelling of Kingdom Hearts is second to none, so sit back and enjoy. Don't forget to give this video a like and a comment with what this franchise means to you, and subscribe for even more. Let's dive in for the final time. Ventus is such a fascinating character in the greater story of Kingdom Hearts. His initial reveal prior to the original release of Birth by Sleep was thoroughly confusing. Who's this guy and why does he look like Roxas? But little did any of us realize that Ventus was perhaps one of the most important protagonists of the series, one who serves witness to a high majority of the pivotal moments that pushes Kingdom Hearts' story forward. And to top it off, for the most of it, he never feels very worthy to be part of any of it. We first meet Ven while he's basically catatonic, barely alive while being brought to the land of departure to learn the ways of the Keyblade under Master Ericus. Other Keyblade apprentices, Aqua and Terra, are eager to meet their new companion, but the interaction, excited but mild as it may be, proves too much. There's always something lingering in the back of Ventus's mind. He wants to try, he wants to be a great friend. He has the desire to be a Keyblade master, but there's always something in him holding him back. The game gradually reveals that Ven's one half of a whole. He was split by Master Xehanort with a malevolent entity known as Vanitas manifesting from the young boy. The quite literal split in Ventus can serve as a large metaphor for insecurity. You have desires, goals, but something within you feels off, holding you back. Ven lacks the full confidence to reach his full potential, and has a strong sense of powerlessness in the direction of his fate. While Birth by Sleep ends in tragedy with Ven stuck in an eternal slumber to keep him safe from Xehanort's plans, by the end of the game he had started to overcome his feelings of not being enough. He stands up to Vanitas and Xehanort in turn, able to rely on his friends and their confidence in him to realize he is enough, and that he doesn't need to be protected as much as Ericus had been. That overprotectiveness that only emphasized Ventus's doubts in himself. Honestly, with how he arrived in the land of departure, I don't fault Ericus's instinct to keep Ven from visiting other worlds. Especially with Xehanort skulking around, the kid wasn't in the most stable state. But issues and evil plots really begin to crop up remarkably fast, and Ventus, despite his insecurities, still pushes forward to fight for his friends. That's the strength of his heart. Despite everything working against him, even himself, he continues on to try to do what's right. This goes even further when it was later on revealed in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross that Ven was somehow around way back in Kingdom Hearts' past, even further than Birth by Sleep. Ven is pegged as one of the new leaders of the Dandelions, along with Ephemer, Brain, Scold, and Laurium. However, it turns out there's an intruder in their midst, and shockingly it turns out to be Ventus himself. Laurium's sister, Strelitzia, was intended to be the leader in place of Ventus, but the young man was possessed by a being known simply as Darkness and kills Strelitzia, taking her place in the Dandelion leadership. At this point in the series, we don't fully know everything about this manifestation of darkness, but it shows how throughout Ventus's life he's just relentlessly been put down and manipulated. By Darkness, by Xehanort, even to an extent Ericus. There's been so many external forces in his life that serve to feed into his weakness, his sort of imposter syndrome that persists throughout the series. I mean, he literally was an imposter in the Dandelions. To see Ventus revived in Kingdom Hearts 3 and continue to fight for his friends, playing a pivotal role in reviving Terra from the clutches of darkness, we see Ventus now fully in control of his destiny, standing up and fighting off those who would doubt his abilities. Ventus's journey is far from over, especially with the introduction of the eponymous Darkness to the series, but with newfound strength and amazing friends like Terra and Aqua, the young man is set on a path completely of his choosing. No doubts left in his ability to protect those he cares about. So, Vanitas is arguably the angriest character in the Kingdom Hearts series, yeah? From the writing to Haley Joel Osment's performance, every word he says is dripping in rage and malice. It makes sense once it's understood that Vanitas is the other side of the coin, that is, Ventus. One is of kindness and light, the other of anger and darkness. A victim too of Xehanort's cruelty, Vanitas is a unique villain in Kingdom Hearts as he's one without remorse. His name itself, Vanitas, comes from the idea of emptiness. Whereas most of the villains of Kingdom Hearts act after calculation and meticulous planning, Vanitas has one goal, forging the Keyblade with Ventus, and he'll stop at nothing to achieve that. Acting on a whim if it feels like it'll help him. Vanitas rages at his own existence. He acts prideful in public, looking down on everyone. However, his anger and cruelty stem from jealousy, envious of Ventus's life and friends in Terra and Aqua. Vanitas and Ventus are two halves of a whole, so why shouldn't he also have what the other holds dear? Throughout Birth by Sleep, these feelings in Vanitas manifest in constantly goading the Keyblade apprentices on, threatening them and belittling them, trying to push them into a fight so he can defeat them and find some kind of sense of superiority. He finally gets his wish in forging the Keyblade, albeit an incomplete one, and his anger is fully unleashed against Ventus as the two finally duke it out from within Ventus's heart as Vanitas tries to recombine with his other half. He becomes increasingly desperate and angry, only to lose in the end, fading away as the Keyblade is prevented from being wielded. That seems like the end of Vanitas, but through time travel shenanigans, the villain returns in Kingdom Hearts 3 as part of the new Organization 13 to serve Master Xehanort once again. Here he still has the ultimate goal of rejoining with Ventus, who still sleeps in the Land of Departure, hidden from Vanitas and Xehanort's clutches. Now, however, he contends with Sora, who he too, unsurprisingly, holds nothing but contempt for. The animosity and jealousy Vanitas feels towards Ventus applies to Sora as well. Vanitas even sees Sora as a third brother of sorts in a messed up way, since Ventus's heart was kept safe within him. Whereas so much of the cast's emotional journeys end on a positive note, even the villains, Vanitas does not. While Sora and company fight and defeat the members of this new organization, many are given the opportunity to reflect and come to some sort of understanding as they fade away. However, Vanitas is stubborn and angry to the end. Even when Ventus and Sora protest that he doesn't have to live his life in such a way, Vanitas scoffs at their sympathy. His whole existence has been one of anger, rage, a lot due to the contempt for his existence shown by Master Xehanort, who cares much more about Ventus than him. He can't even fathom someone actually seeing him and wishing him the best, wanting him to be happy and find some way to the light. In the end, Vanitas' journey ends with him with some satisfaction. Not satisfaction in having friends or finding joy and happiness, but choosing to accept his existence is meant to be one of darkness alone. His anger at the world fully consumed him, and tragically, he was okay with that. As Vanitas faded away from existence, he smiled, finding his own form of contentment in simply being used by Xehanort and feeding into the darkness, trying to make everyone miserable around him. It's a sad tale with an even sadder ending. Vanitas serves as a symbol of what happens when someone chooses to steep their life in nothing but darkness. You spend so much time down there, you can never even understand the idea of someone else reaching out to help you into the light.
Ericus is not a character I particularly enjoyed when he was first introduced. Even now, I don't particularly like his characters or beliefs, but I understand them. Something that Kingdom Hearts does really well is recontextualizing previous events. The scene for Ericus that I want to focus on is during the climax of Birth by Sleep. Ericus believes that darkness has taken Terra and decides he must be dealt with. With no context, Ericus seems to be a misguided teacher who understands the world in black and white, darkness and light, with no in-between. When we get a peek into his past though, the way that Master Ericus behaves actually gives a great portrayal of fear and how it can drive us to make decisions that on the outside make no sense. Fear is actually an emotion that indicates that something or someone is a danger to us. It's an emotion that drives us to look for safety. People usually pair fear with cowardness, and with just the context of Birth by Sleep, some may come to that conclusion about Ericus. But if we take a look at another entry in the series, we can gain some more context. Dark Road is a newer entry in the series that was exclusive to mobile devices and followed young Xehanort in his journey into darkness. Ericus is a side character, and we see that he pretty much holds the same values he does later, though to a much lesser degree. His belief that darkness is something that should never be thought of as anything less than evil is solidified when his fellow classmate must be struck down. Facing young Xehanort later and seeing what had become of him when he followed the path of darkness was just further evidence that darkness cannot be trusted. Xehanort was still his classmate though, and Ericus wanted desperately to believe that his friend had not completely succumbed to the darkness. Even after his face was scarred by an encounter with Xehanort that turned sour, Ericus still blindly believed his friend had changed with a simple letter apologizing. It seems that at least for a time, Xehanort was able to trick Ericus into believing he had given up the darkness. I think this was possible because Ericus was so focused on Terra. He could sense that Terra's lust for power would lead him towards the darkness, and he was afraid of that. Ericus's fear had him hyper-focused on Terra. Terra was nowhere as close to darkness as Baldur was, but because of what Ericus experienced, his fear drove him to try and kill Terra before history could potentially repeat itself. Without even trying to talk through an alternative, Ericus turned on someone he thought of as a son. That fear that Ericus felt was a fear for the safety of him and his students. The power of fear is perfectly shown here, and I like to think that Ericus' journey in Terra's heart was able to heal some of that fear and pain since we see a much calmer Ericus appear at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Listen, I know what some of you may be thinking. Terra's a big dum-dum, a himbo, a super gullible, beefy, brainless moron. But regardless of whether you believe that or not, I want to highlight what may be Terra's strongest trait, his unwavering determination. For as long as Terra has been apprenticing under Ericus, it's been his personal dream to become a Keyblade Master alongside his friends. After 4 years of training, he finally has his chance at the Mark of Mastery, only to have Master Xehanort insert himself into the process and convince Master Ericus that Terra isn't ready for the title. This is understandably crushing for Terra. He feels unworthy to achieve his dream and fearful of the darkness within him. When Master Ericus tasks him with traveling the worlds, Terra resolves himself to prove to his mentor that he's worthy of becoming a master. His determination makes his heart strong, certainly strong enough to catch the attention of Xehanort, who begins to plant seeds of doubt in Terra regarding his master and relationship to darkness. We hear characters throughout Terra's journey provide words of wisdom and warning about his determination. The fairy godmother encourages Terra to watch Cinderella dance at the ball so that he can see the power of belief in action. Even Maleficent warns Terra that the darkness in him can't be subdued by willpower alone. Terra reunites with his friends later on and discovers that Ericus tasked Aqua to monitor him. This comes as a severe blow to Terra's emotional state. He feels like he's being judged by his longtime friend, who has now surpassed him as a Keyblade Master, a title that they both trained for years to achieve. And knowing that Ericus doesn't trust him enough to journey without supervision, it further compounds the distrust and doubt he feels towards his master and mentor. Terra begins to distance himself from his friends, and Xehanort takes advantage of him again in this vulnerable state, urging him to fight using his anger and hatred to tap into the darkness inside him. Having succumbed to the darkness even for a moment, he starts to feel like a failure and that he can no longer return home to Ericus. But Xehanort is right there to tell Terra exactly what he wants to hear. You're not a failure for channeling darkness. You were the one that deserves the title of Master. Ericus doesn't trust you because he fears you. Terra starts to build a sense of trust with Xehanort because he feels that no one else trusts him based on their actions. With Xehanort's words of encouragement, Terra becomes more determined than ever to control his inner darkness. You can also get a sense of Terra's determination from his character theme. Series composer Yoko Shimomura has an incredible talent for capturing a character's disposition and feelings through their musical theme. Ventus and Aqua's themes are slower tempo and speak more to their feelings and connections, but Terra's theme is up-tempo, with the low strings driving the music forward. After Stitch steals his Wayfinder, Terra starts to realize that his drive to become stronger has been directionless. And as he begins to listen to his heart, he finds that his friends are the driving force behind his determination, and resolves to set things right with Aqua and Vent. Soon after that, Light leads him to a boy with similar determination to do right by his friends. Terra is ultimately worn down by Xehanort's long-term manipulation, and his body is taken over. But his pure intention determination is so strong that it materializes in his armor and challenges Terra Xehanort as the lingering will. We've seen the consequences of misguided determination with other characters too, like Riku during the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, and even Master Xehanort himself throughout the series. Terra is a young adult who is intentionally misled by the people he trusts, and he makes poorly informed choices with good intentions. But it's his exceptional determination that keeps part of him tethered to the realm of light and ultimately reconnects him to his friends.
Saïx is an interesting enigma throughout Kingdom Hearts. A member of the original Organization 13, Saïx acts as a secondary antagonist just under Xemnas in Kingdom Hearts 2. Sorry, Maleficent and Pete. Interacting with Sora a lot more than the organization leader, honestly. Speaking mysteriously and acting really above it all, Saïx in his interactions with Sora keeps his cards close to his chest, simply egging Sora on to keep fighting the Heartless to serve the organization's plans, even making him get on his knees and beg. It's a dramatic scene, to say the least.
Please.
So you really do care for her. In that case, the answer's no.
It's only when we see Saïx's relationships within the organization itself do we see his true motivations come to light. Before he was a nobody, Saïx, previously Isa, was best friends with Axel, or Lee. The two went on adventures together, even sneaking into the castle of Radiant Garden and attempting to help a young girl escape from her imprisonment at the hands of Ansem the Wise and his apprentices. Saïx and Axel share a close bond, but when they become members of the organization, that bond begins to weaken. Axel grows close to Roxas and then Xion, making Saïx jealous, feeling like his friend wants nothing to do with him. His reaction to this is to become cold whenever Axel's around, pushing him away. It's an all too common feeling. The voices in your head tell you that your friend is better off without you, and you can give in to those thoughts and want nothing to do with them. It only makes things worse, pushing you further apart. Saïx's shunning of Axel ends up key to his emotional journey. His remorse in pushing away his only friend dramatically affects him going forward. There's a key scene leading up to the big fight with the new organization where Saïx shows up to talk to Axel at the bell tower in Twilight Town. Axel can't understand why Saïx would still serve someone evil like Xehanort. Saïx expresses regret and blames Axel for giving up on helping the girl in Radiant Garden, showing another reason that led to him pushing away his old friend. In this scene, however, there's a small sense of peace between the two. They're going to fight soon, but the anger isn't as apparent anymore. The clash seems inevitable, but Saïx seems to have allowed his regret to fall to the wayside, knowing that whatever happens, maybe soon he'll have some kind of peace. Especially after Axel met with him not to fight, but just talk. In the big clash with Saïx, Axel finally angrily asks him why he's still willing to fight him, why he's still serving the organization. Saïx finally relents, stating plainly that his jealousy of Axel's friendship with Roxas and Xion drove him to fury. He thought Axel was forgetting why they had wanted to be in the organization in the first place, for the two of them to finally find that lost girl. Saïx fades away, but he finally absolves himself of his remorse, reconciling with Axel. And hey, thankfully, he isn't dead. With all those messy feelings finally resolved, Saïx emerges in his original form as Isa, his friendship with Lee repaired and forging ahead, connecting with others like Roxas and Xion. Listen y'all, we all just need to communicate more. Less epic fantasy battles filled with anger and regret would happen.
Axel's character arc throughout the Kingdom Hearts series sees him move through the stages of grief after losing his friends. During his time as a nobody and beforehand, Axel sees his closest friends and allies slip through his fingers. Roxas, Xion, even his childhood friendship with Issa falls apart during his time as an organization member. While he was mainly set up as an antagonist in our introduction to Axel during Chain of Memories, later appearances would see him get fleshed out significantly, not just as a sympathetic villain, but also as someone that we can relate to, especially if we've lost a loved one. In Castle Oblivion, we meet him at his most confident. He's a quip-slinging bad boy radiating charm, but after the events that transpire here and during the events of 358 over 2 days, Axel's world is shaken. He's lost both Roxas and Xion at essentially the same time, and the memories of one of his closest friends at the time are being ripped away from him in real time. For a game series centered around yucking up bad guys with Donald and Emo Cloud strife, this story beat is really devastating and way dark. That's one of the reasons Axel's "got it memorized" catchphrase hits such an emotional chord the longer you sit with it. Or, excuse me, commit it to memory. If you know, you know. When someone loses a cornerstone of their everyday life, a common first reaction is denial, and Axel is no different. During the definitely not at all polarizing opening to Kingdom Hearts 2, let's just say our red-haired buddy isn't taking it so well. Although he sees a familiar face in Roxas and even Sora, Axel is a stranger to them, but he can't seem to accept it. Until, in a burst of flames and tutorialization, Axel passes on to the next phase of the grief cycle: anger. Anger that his friend was taken from him. Anger that there are parts of his memory that don't seem quite right. Anger that he no longer has agency in his life with the organization. Anger that he no longer has anyone on his side, not even his childhood friend. And he takes all of that out on Roxas before the player can finally play as Sora. You know, the main character we all wanted to play as in the first place. What? I'm not bitter. So what's next in this cycle? Bargaining? I mean, kidnapping Kairi to try and draw out Sora in order to turn this child into a nobody just to have a chance at reviving his buddy Roxas? That's some pretty wild bargaining. And it doesn't exactly turn out the way he was hoping. And here we come to the longest part of Axel's journey: depression. So it's clear that Axel is taking all of this not well, let's say. The upside down tier markings, the moping alone at the clock tower, he's going through it, and rightfully so. But he's going through it to such an extent it's even influencing the lesser nobodies he governs. If you look at his assassin underlings, their design and movements are actually quite melancholy. Their heads hang low and their torsos are slumped over. For an assassin, it doesn't look all that ready to fight. Before we can attack them, they already look defeated. While all other nobodies controlled by the organization members do share characteristics of their leaders, the assassin seems to be the only one displaying a specific emotion in its design and movement, showing us just how strong Axel's sadness has become. And the deeper we get into Kingdom Hearts 2, the more assassins we actually start to encounter, showing us Axel's depression is just becoming more and more overwhelming the more he's realizing that his plan to bring back Roxas isn't working. But over the course of the rest of the series, Axel goes from lovable rogue to lovable, well, that whole rogue thing stays around until the end really, but he does really start to accept that he can't bring back what he's lost. And after the acceptance of his situation starts to really set in, we see Axel make a pretty massive change. He starts to really step into a role of a series protagonist. Not just as a fan favorite side character. Axel not only represents the stages of experiencing grief, but also how we can heal by moving through that grief. No longer held back by his emptiness as a nobody, he quite literally becomes a different person. His whole self, Lee. And in doing so, learns to live with the loss he's had to endure. It's actually pretty impressive how hopeful his story ends up being. He even gets his own Keyblade to hammer home how much growing he's done as a character. Oh yeah, he finally has someone to eat ice cream with on top of a precarious ledge again. Yay! But seriously, why not scoot back just a little bit? Just a little. Please?
Hearts is many things: emotional, heartwarming, traumatic, devastating, hopeful, but it is also deeply relatable. I believe one of the great strengths of the series is its ability to draw audiences in and leave lasting impacts on people. This is due to the intense and often bittersweet relatability of the characters. We see the cast face seemingly impossible odds and form irreplaceable bonds with each other. We see them fail and triumph and everything in between. Some of the characters are on a coming-of-age journey. I think most fans of the series can agree Riku is a prime example of a character who goes through very relatable coming-of-age development. I could easily sit down and write an essay on this topic about Riku and several other characters, but right now I want to talk about Shion. I believe Shion has a particularly impactful coming-of-age arc. We don't necessarily see her go from childhood to adulthood in Kingdom Hearts, but we do witness an extraordinary arc from replica to an emboldened character who embraces and fights for free will. Shion is created by the organization in 358 over 2 days, and at her inception, she is abused and manipulated. Words such as mistake, puppet, and it are used to describe Shion directly to her face. She is an outcast among the very people who created her, and there are some members in the organization who don't see her as anything more than a tool. It is awful to see a young child treated with such contempt by adults and coworkers who should know better. Growing up, I think it's hard to escape bullying, and sadly some people experience workplace manipulation. This is a heartbreaking example of Shion being relatable to anyone who was made fun of in public for being different or seen as less than by the people around them. Her journey through days is wrought with frustration, confusion, and doubt. When different characters look at Shion, they see different faces, and some organization members even see a blank face. This further enhances her lack of belonging within her so-called community. At one point, she even asks Riku, "How will I know where I belong, truly?" This is a question I'm sure many of us have asked ourselves as we make our way through different social circles, school, work, and other life experiences. It's common to feel lost and unsure as we navigate new or different circumstances. Despite Shion's difficulties with Organization 13, she befriends Axel and Roxas. They include her, they show her kindness and the value of teamwork. Their relationship grows stronger as they share precious free time together. Axel teaches both Shion and Roxas that everyone is unique and special, and he tells them about the importance of remembering who you love. Compassion from Axel and Roxas helps break Shion out of her mold. Her two closest friends give her a sense of support and belonging, which helps end the cycle of insecurity. She is inspired to question things and make her own decisions. Over the course of days, Shion becomes self-aware, takes matters into her own hands, and in a remarkable act of self-sacrifice, makes the choice to relinquish her body in order to help Sora. When Shion makes her tearful return in Kingdom Hearts 3, we see her fighting for her own memories and even attacking her friends before the power of love, memories, and friendship restore her to her true self. The support system from those around her gives her back her life, and in return, she provides support and comfort for Sora, completing her journey from replica tool to empathetic friend. Shion's path is far from easy. Her existence begins with confusion and anger. At first, she is timid, insecure, and broken. But the bonds of friendship and compassion from others gives her resolution, and she becomes a fully fledged character who stands her ground for herself and for her friends. It's natural for people to want security, comfort, and support from our communities, and Shion is no different. She wants to be remembered. She wants to spend time with people who love her, people who will accept her for being her true self. This is the core of Shion's relatability as a character, and I believe it leaves a lasting impact on the audience. Her arc from essentially victim to cherished friend full of life and free will is touching and poignant.
Kingdom Hearts is such a sprawling series, really almost every character has some kind of arc, even the side ones. When we first meet Demyx, he's the klutz, the clown, the comic relief villain of Organization 13 in Kingdom Hearts 2. He's performing his duties as commanded by Xemnas, but he's whining all the way, bemoaning the fact that he's been sent out instead of, well, anyone else. You're absolutely meant to just laugh about it. So many villains in Kingdom Hearts are so grim, so serious. It's a nice change of pace to see someone so goofy and light. That doesn't mean Demyx shouldn't be taken seriously as a character though. When he's on, he's on. He's a formidable opponent when he actually tries, and his fight with Sora and Hollow Bastion absolutely can be a tough encounter if you aren't prepared. It really proves that there's a reason that Demyx is in the organization. His inclusion wasn't some weird fluke. It all comes down to his own sense of self. He's content to just vibe in the organization's stronghold while others do the work for him. He's definitely lazy, but it's his reaction to having no confidence in himself, seeing himself as inferior to the rest of the organization. We don't witness a hefty amount of Demyx's interactions with the other members, but it seems like he's content to fill the role everyone gives him based on his behavior. It's a vicious cycle. He feels like he's not capable of more responsibility, he flakes on his duties, his peers remark on his laziness, and with his own attitude, he leans into it more, not working to be better because he thinks he can't be. This attitude prevails through the series until we finally reach Kingdom Hearts 3. Demyx has been revived as a nobody and placed into the new Organization 13. Well, sort of. He's actually kind of there as a bench warmer in case one of the main members doesn't work out. It's complicated. As per usual, Demyx is content with this, only being shaken awake when he learns that he, along with a few others of the organization, have something special about them from their past, what makes them significant to Xehanort's plans. This is a wake-up call for Demyx, and he reconfigures his sense of inferiority to his own advantage. Sure, it wasn't good that he let his own attitude paint him into the corner of lazy clown, but no one pays attention to him, and hey, that's an advantage. Perennial benchwarmer Demyx can now do whatever he pleases, and that becomes a very big deal. Demyx finds his use and helps out Vexen with betraying the organization. Yes, it takes some convincing, but Demyx becomes a defining influence in the plan that brings Roxas out of Sora and back to physical form. Not only that, but he also retrieves a replica body that is used to revive Naminé as well, thanks to the additional efforts of Ienzo and Ansem the Wise. Demyx is a fun showcase for the Kingdom Hearts series' way of finding meaning behind every one of its characters in some form. Demyx is the goofy comic relief, but even he has an important part to play in the story, even though he believed what everyone said and thought he wasn't good enough to do anything well. And hey, there's still that mysterious past of his. At this point, we have a full shape of who Demyx is as a person, but there seems to be more yet to be revealed in the entries to come.
Hello gamers, how do? A common thing we see in the Kingdom Hearts series are characters that seem to have basic bad guy motivations with their first appearance, but eventually get more backstory that recontextualizes their motives. In the case of Marluxia, his journey begins in Kingdom Hearts Union, being the 5th dandelion to shepherd the Keyblade wielders, known then as Lauriam. He's well respected amongst his peers for his courage, compassion, and the occasional joke. Guy knows how to make a room laugh. And he's pretty, too. That's aside the point. It's kind of hard to talk about Lauriam's character without mentioning his younger sister, Strelitzia. The relationship is easily the crux of Lauriam's emotional motivation and subsequent journey. His introduction in Union quickly establishes that he's looking for his missing sister in the Data Daybreak Town, since her fate after the Keyblade War is a mystery to him, finding nothing but vague answers from the Dandelions and an old acquaintance of his sister, Elrena, aka Larxene. Now, midway through the story, a flashback shows how closely linked the siblings are to each other, with Strelitzia admiring how strong and brave Lauriam is for being a skilled Keyblade wielder with little effort. Later, she asks if they could pair up together in battle since she isn't so confident in her abilities. However, Lauriam reassures her of her own strength and encourages her to become strong and independent so that one day she can carry and fly him into battle instead, once again suggesting she becomes a dandelion herself, despite her being hesitant. But Lauriam also reminds assures her that if she's ever in trouble, he'll come running. And I quote, "You make everyone's lives so much brighter. People need that. They need your power. Believe in yourself." The scene alludes to Strelitzia being Lauriam's personal light in the world, a reason to keep moving forward. The flashback, however, ends with Strelitzia ascending into the sky wearing a white robe. But as the events of Union unfold, it's revealed that Strelitzia was actually murdered by Ventus while being possessed by darkness, with the story later explaining it pounced on Ven's need for power and desire to be a dandelion. So Strelitzia was a victim of opportunity, taking her out so he could take her place. Darkness only helping to fulfill Ventus's internal wishes, but ultimately, it was Darkness who killed Strelitzia, let's be real, y'all. However, when Lauriam finds out the truth, he rages at the gang for keeping information away from him, thereby attacking Ven, temporarily falling for Darkness's bait to use Strelitzia's death to sow doubt and anger amongst the dandelions. Eventually, though, he regains his senses and helps the gang temporarily subside the darkness. Ven being knocked out cold after the encounter, Lauriam confesses at his bedside that he understands it wasn't actually Ven's fault, but he feels like he needs someone to blame since darkness is so abstract. His anger needs a simple, tangible target. In that moment, Strelitzia's ghost subtly comes to whisper that hatred and sadness is what darkness wants, pleading that he must let go. "What happened to my kind and loving brother," she says, once again displaying the light of Strelitzia's presence and her effect on Lauriam's emotional state. The grief and guilt of failing to protect her is what triggers Lauriam's anger and hate. As the events of Union come to a close, Strelitzia is briefly spotted wearing a white robe, walking with a black-coated figure. However, before anything can be investigated, the world is on the brink of destruction as Darkness Doomsday arrives. Brain, aka Lauriam's co-parent husband BFF, insists that Lauriam and the others leave the world as a way to keep hope and light alive, giving him the mission to find answers for the dandelion's fatalistic predicament and to see if Strelitzia is still alive somewhere. And we know she is because of that Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, baby, whoop whoop. Not sure where they'll end up after being transported out of the world, Brain says he will keep Lauriam's goal, his waypoint, etched in his heart. As they say their goodbyes, Brain reiterates, "May your heart be your guiding key." In his final Union story moments, an unspecified amount of time passes, and Lauriam wakes up in a field of flowers. Filling in the story gaps, he eventually succumbs to darkness somehow, becomes a nobody, presumably loses his memories in the process, and is later found by Xigbar, who swoops him into Organization 13 for his strong heart and ties to the ancient Keyblade legacy, given the new name and rank, number 11, Marluxia, the graceful assassin. Later, in the events of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Marluxia, serving as the main antagonist, takes on the job of Lord of Castle Oblivion, with the ulterior motive of using a brainwashed Sora as a weapon to overthrow Xemnas, a power move showing his natural leader instincts still alive and well. Of course, he's devoid of most emotions while being a nobody, literally a shell of his former self. He displays a cold, calculated, determined, and almost arrogant demeanor throughout his organization time, with the occasional sassy line. He never bows to authority, only plays along since he senses a greater purpose beyond Organization 13, seeing them more as a means to an end than anything else, except for his bad bitch BFF Larxene, hey baby. In the conclusion of Chain of Memories, Sora mows his way through the castle to confront Marluxia, and during the showdown, Marluxia is sent into a disdainful rage when Sora says he's content with living with false memories if he can still protect Naminé, striking a familiar chord deep within himself. Nobodies, or at the very least Xemnas, tends to view anger and hate as the supreme feeling of the heart and draw their wrathful power from that. The pain and anger of his sister's uncertain fate lingers even if he can't remember. So his final boss form manifests as a remnant of Strelitzia, with black tears falling down its face. Finally, Strelitzia carries and flies Marluxia into battle together. However, it's a far cry from the dreams long ago. By the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, Marluxia, in his dying moments, again for realsies this time, reconnects with his heart's true feelings, thanking Sora for causing him to reclaim his identity and purpose for being, since it was etched within, laughing as if he remembers and realizes how frivolous all of the Organization 13 nonsense is compared to his old life and his reason for being here in the first place, to find answers for his fallen Keyblade wielders and the fate of his sister. Having one seen Sora as a naive fool, he seems to understand that they are actually alike, as both of their motivations in life come from wanting to help and protect the ones closest to them. To me, Marluxia's journey reveals he is a victim of circumstance, forced to be a pawn in a much larger game, but his innate defiance and his attempt to usurp Xemnas is almost admirable, even though it involves turning Sora and Naminé into puppet weapons to get what he wants. Still a bad guy is a nobody, since his worst qualities give him power and raw sex appeal, but you can't help but go, aww, in the end, considering his past. Truly a kind big brother through and through. Like, for reals, he carries unconscious Ven like a baby. The man is a natural caretaker. Now, Marluxia and Lauriam both feature rose and flower petal motifs, which perfectly represents Marluxia's duality of being a loving brother and friend, while also harboring intense anger and rigidness. Soft petals, sharp thorns. Symbolism, y'all. In fact, pink roses tend to symbolize admiration and joy, qualities that Lauriam clearly displays around his loved ones. I also think that it is no coincidence that his nobody's weapon of choice is a scythe. Like, yeah, it looks cool, but it's also a general symbol for death, something he is very familiar with, and it's also traditionally a tool for farming, which helps foster communities, but here it's being repurposed as a tool for killing. Another symbol of his light and dark, help and hurt, duality. So, in conclusion, despite falling into the darkness of his anger as Marluxia, in the end, Lauriam never let go of the things that mattered the most.
Ansem the Wise is quite the layered person. We first hear of him in the original Kingdom Hearts, knowing him to be someone from Hollow Bastion who was researching darkness, light, and the Heartless. However, he vanished when the world fell to darkness, apparently becoming the ultimate villain of the first game, trying to get to Kingdom Hearts itself to, as he says,
"Fill me with the power of darkness."
This all proves to be a ruse, however, as this character was simply the Heartless of ultimate villain Xehanort. No, Ansem the Wise was still out there, dealing with the fallout of his research. It's not wrong to take pride in what you see as a noble cause, but Ansem was performing insidious things behind the walls of his castle. With his apprentices, including Xehanort and the possessed body of Terra, Ansem began horrible experiments to understand the nature of the human heart. As Kingdom Hearts is ultimately a family-friendly franchise, exactly what these experiments entailed is obfuscated to an extent. A lot of it can be found in the text documents in the series known as the Secret Reports. But the intention is clear. It's all just heinous and inhumane. He eventually realizes how wrong this is and has his apprentices cease their experiments, but the damage is already done. Ansem takes pride in what he does, and when his actions turn out to be twisted, he's left with nothing but shame. This too twists into a hatred of nobodies. In disguise as Diz in Kingdom Hearts 2, he treats nobodies like Naminé and Roxas with absolute cruelty, believing them to deserve nothing of the world and existing to only help him with his own goals. A man of great intellect, Ansem serves as a showcase of what happens when pride and ambition consume someone. Their intentions may be good, their regret readily apparent, but that doesn't mean they'll stop acting in cruel and horrible ways. Due to his experiments, Ansem's apprentices like Ienzo and Dylan dip themselves too close into the darkness and make up a fair majority of the original members of Organization 13. Ansem's failures as a mentor, a scientist, and guardian are put on full display. Ansem really is a catalyst for so much of the pain that reverberates throughout Kingdom Hearts. He sees the error of his ways, but his crimes stretch so far out, it can be hard to truly make amends. In Kingdom Hearts 3, after returning to the Realm of Light after a sacrifice in Kingdom Hearts 2, he finally starts making real steps to do the right thing going forward. He's instrumental in the replica revivals of Roxas and Naminé, atonement for his cruelty towards them and giving them new, deserved life as their own individuals. His reunion with apprentice Ienzo is an emotional one. Ienzo asks for forgiveness for his actions and their perverse experiments on the human heart, and Ansem simply wishes him peace. It's the right thing to do as Ansem sees what his reckless pursuit of knowledge had done to Ienzo. It's not complete retribution for his actions, but in this moment he sees that pain he caused and does his best to try to rectify it. Ienzo doesn't need forgiveness from Ansem, but the reconciliation hits a touching, understated note that really feels like the beginning of Ansem's path to redemption. His pride almost destroyed everything, but finally acknowledging the hurt he caused and taking the steps to fix the damage done isn't a bad place to start. Through all of this, it's no surprise that Ansem seems to fall on a lot of people's least favorite characters in the series. That's not to say he's not interesting. On the contrary, he's one of Kingdom Hearts' most complex figures since he was the cause for nearly all of the pain that has occurred to the cast, save for Xehanort, but, you know, he's the ultimate villain. To be quite frank, I would love to have Ansem the Wise's backstory expanded on, even if it was just something like a light novel. The fall of the prideful scientist isn't an original concept, but there's layers to Ansem. His pride, his cruelty, his ignorance, that I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
When we first meet Naminé, it may seem as if she lacks emotional depth, but that couldn't be further from the truth. She is driven by incessant loneliness and a desire for companionship. Being used as a puppet by the organization ultimately left her with no sense of self. Naminé was born as Kairi's nobody, and one of the most heartbreaking quotes is in the beginning of Chain of Memories when she says, "I'm the shadow of Kairi." The organization manipulated Naminé into changing Sora's memories of Kairi to her. Marluxia told her she would be alone forever, locked inside Castle Oblivion if she didn't obey. The feelings of being lonely forever was too much for her to bear. But when Naminé finally meets Sora, everything changes. She feels guilty for everything she did, but Sora's unwavering kindness towards her becomes a source of motivation. Naminé decides to fight back against the organization and help Sora piece his memories back together. Sora tells her not to cry because even though the memory is fake, he promised not to make her cry. He wants her to smile and be happy. This is truly the first time she experienced what friendship actually feels like. Naminé gives Sora the choice of either losing his memories of the castle and keeping his old ones, or keep the memories of the castle and give up his old ones. Sora makes the difficult but inevitable decision of keeping his old memories, as anyone would do, but that leaves poor Naminé back to being alone. She tries her best not to appear upset for Sora, but the player is made very aware just how sad Naminé really feels. She finally got to experience what it feels like to have friends and to have purpose, but all of that will be taken away from her as she helps Sora back to his old self. Sora promises to find Naminé when he wakes up. Jiminy even writes in his journal, "Thank Naminé." We all know what happens next. Naminé's character is written in such a way that makes the player feel empathetic towards her situation. Her theme song is arguably one of the most emotionally impactful yet melancholy scores in the entire series. It really captures her essence of being a nobody who is lost and alone. I think that a lot of people can relate to what Naminé experiences in Kingdom Hearts. I myself was an outcast growing up. I would even say at times I felt like I was a nobody. It wasn't easy for me to make friends and I was left feeling lonely a lot of the time. I remember playing Kingdom Hearts as a kid and feeling so connected to Naminé because of this. My heart absolutely broke for her. I wanted nothing more than for her to become whole and be able to cast away her loneliness. I'm so happy to see where Naminé is now in the series. We see a teaser for Naminé waking up at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, and then in the Remind DLC she plays a major role in helping to save Terra from the darkness that is consuming his heart. It was an unexpected plot point, but certainly not unwelcome. I hope that we get to see more from her in the future.
Luxu is an interesting character, shrouded in mystery. Not much is really known about him despite how prominent he has become in the series. We know he is someone who can jump bodies, and has a role to play that was given to him by the Master of Masters. This role was to watch over time, and protect the black box that his master entrusted to him. The Master of Masters tells Luxu that the box holds hope, a pretty vague answer that has had the community wonder and theorize for years now. That's not what I want to talk about in this video though. What I want to talk about is how hope appears and lines up a lot with Luxu's actions. Luxu and Xigbar, while being the same person, embody what they protect in the black box, hope, differently. Let's look at how it guided Luxu's actions first, and how it even kept him motivated to continue waiting and watching. He had hope in the Master of Masters that what was predicted would come to pass, and inevitably save the world and the people he cared about. This same hope strengthened his resolve and helped him to continue from body to body. I actually think it's really fascinating how this hope pushes Luxu to do some really pretty bad things. This hope that would typically be associated with positive things or feelings becomes almost perverse when we put it towards Lucio. It's really interesting. It pushes him to stand by as thousands of Keyblade warriors perish in front of him, and also pushes him to join an organization and experiment on humans in Radiant Garden with Ansem the Wise. So this idea of wanting to save the world actually has him, committing these atrocities on other people. It really puts into perspective how far anyone will go regardless of good and evil if they're holding on to hope. For Lucio, he's so far removed from everything because he has come and gone throughout the ages, sometimes allying with the light and sometimes with the darkness, or maybe even staying out of it entirely and watching from the sidelines. The huge wars that were waged in the name of Lux, or in the name of darkness, probably seemed insignificant. Lucio was satisfied staying to the side and watching it all play out. Or at least it was enough until Sora appeared. Sora was someone whose hope drove him to do incredible things that tore at the fabric of fate. Never have we seen Lucio take such a prominent role like he does with Xigbar. I'd like to think that Sora impacted how Xigbar acted. Before, he would stay hidden since he was confident in the Master's plan. It all happened the way his Master had foretold, so he just had to hope and wait. Suddenly though, there was this virus in the system, something that fundamentally changed how the future would play out. Sora's hope drove him to act, which changed the future. Xigbar responds in kind, taking on Sora in hopes of stopping him. The hope he was confident in now turned to desperation to see his hope for the future come to fruition. It's really interesting to see how Lucio, and by extension Xigbar, changed throughout the series, and I'm so interested to see how this will continue to change as we get more insight into his character.
Ephemer is such an exciting character. The mobile title Kingdom Hearts Union Cross ran for such a long time, and yet, as a mobile title, its cast of characters are way less known to players compared to everyone else we've talked about prior. And yet, he's so important. I feel like he'll enter more mainstream conversation in future games, but boy, this kid has done a lot. On the surface, Ephemer seems like your typical happy-go-lucky Keyblade wielder, not unlike Sora. He joins a union and collects Lux, light in another word, like all the other Keyblade wielders prior to the Keyblade War. Now, I don't mean that in a paranoid way, but by having a curiosity to broaden his understanding of what's happening around him. Hearing vague platitudes about a book of prophecies that allegedly knows the fate of everything, while also decreeing that the different unions, groups of Keyblade wielders, must compete with each other instead of working together. Ephemer is extremely logical in questioning the whole situation, especially knowing this was all set in motion by one individual, the Master of Masters. This leads to Ephemer recruiting the player character to aid him in his investigation on just what all is going on, from seeking into the Clock Tower in Daybreak Town, and even investigating various other places on his own. His skepticism is only further pushed forward after having a chance encounter with one of the Union leaders, Master Ava, who actually agrees with him. Instead of encouraging secrets and keeping things closer to their chest, she admires Ephemer's curiosity. He's thinking for himself and not simply conforming to what the Book of Prophecy says. He's in control of his own fate. That doesn't mean she'll tell him what specifically is in the Book of Prophecies, but hey, it's something. Fate is a funny thing in Kingdom Hearts, and something I suspect to be a very central theme of whatever comes next in the series. Think of the chess metaphor that permeates Kingdom Hearts 3's visual design, from the characters' clothes to the literal chessboard that young Ericus and Xehanort play in the scenes that bookend the game. There's the idea that all these external forces control everything, but steps have been made, or at least seem to have been made, to defy the Master of Masters and the Book of Prophecies from Sora's use of the power of waking to save his friends. Oh, and twice with Kairi. Through all of this, it all kind of leads back to Ephemer himself. His initial thoughts of questioning the situation he was in, the book, the unions, it all connects through time. Hell, it's him that reaches out to Sora in the Keyblade Graveyard and brings forth the hearts of the lost Keyblade wielders to help him in defeating the heartless Cyclone set forth by Xehanort. At the end of Union Cross, after escaping from the Data Worlds, Ephemer finds himself floating in the water surrounded by the destruction of Daybreak Town. Based on what we've seen after, including the reveal trailer for Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, it looks like Ephemer himself founded the island city of Scala at Kylum overtop the wreckage of his original home. Like I said, important! Ephemer is a delightful character that I really hope we see more of, somehow, in future Kingdom Hearts entries. He represents the importance of not being swayed by blind devotion. It's important to question those in power and to not resign yourself to being controlled by someone else. Everyone has the power to control their fate in Kingdom Hearts, and Ephemer is the root of that power to defy the future and create something previously unwritten. Kingdom Hearts. After 4 separate essays on this series, I feel like I'm supposed to put a "what else can I say" here, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. This series is so near and dear to my heart, and I hope that's extraordinarily evident to all of you watching. A series that absolutely shouldn't work on any level has now been around for 20 years and still going stronger than ever before. Sure, there's plenty to critique about the series, I fully acknowledge that, but this series has such an amazing staying power for me and millions of others because we all connect to it on such a lovely, powerful level. We care about these characters and their stories, their relatable struggles against cosmic forces can be whittled down to very personal and emotional arcs that anyone can connect with. So, thank you for watching and going on this year-long journey with me. I could talk for years about Kingdom Hearts, and maybe I will again sometime down the line. The original ads for the first game featured the tagline, "Journey where you never know who you'll run into next," hyping up the assortment of Disney characters that show up throughout. I think that's a perfect way to encapsulate Kingdom Hearts. With such a weird fusion of Western animation classics and JRPG ethos, the journey of Kingdom Hearts is a winding, unexpected one that we're all just along for the ride for. I've made connections with so many amazing people through our love of the series. Just look at all the amazing people who you just heard in this video. And like the narrator in that ad said, this journey of discovery is one of the most exciting parts of being a Kingdom Hearts fan. You connect with these characters and you meet others you never would have otherwise who share this love and bond over it. In the end, that's the true power of Kingdom Hearts. It can bring so many people together in a positive way, and I really think the world is a better place with this series in it. Thank you, Kingdom Hearts. Thank you all so much for watching, and for the last time this year, happy 20th anniversary Kingdom Hearts. This video wouldn't exist without the phenomenal contributions of Bio-Roxas, KHGuides, FilmOtter, PermanentViolet, SarahKey, and SuperButterBuns. So if you aren't already, be sure to check the description below and check them all out. They're wonderful and you won't be sorry. Thank you all again. Despite now covering 20 different original characters in Kingdom Hearts, the cast is so large and varied, we still didn't get to everyone. Kingdom Hearts has created a marvelous tapestry of wild stories and delightful characters that are second to none, and I'm just so thankful that this weird, wonderful series is still going strong today. It's been an amazing 20-year journey for me personally, and I truly cannot wait to see what's happening next. There's so many worlds to see, and I feel like we're really just getting started. Thank you all for looking back on this series with me. I really hope you enjoyed it. Special thanks to my top patrons, Jan Willis, Jordan O'Neill, Miss KHGuides, and Oz. If you enjoyed this video, you can help support me on Patreon, where you can get early access to videos such as this one, along with exclusive content released each month. May your heart be your guiding key.